Can you make me co-host, please?
Hey, Tony, can you, I'm just going to pause the recording. Set here. Welcome to our event. This is Buying Real Estate in 2021. My name is Taylor. I'm with Hacking Company at Remax River City. And let's get our visuals set here. I'm really glad everybody could join us as we get the team involved. Just getting used to my controls here because now we have elements about the breakout room as I can bring folks in, and let's bring in the team. Introducing first Mr. Anthony D'Souza. He had a great year last year helping everybody that was moving with us in 2021 through COVID. Doro Stash. She has just been on fire lately with listing acreages. She's had a couple of acreages go at around $700,000. Great experiences over there. Also, Kim Christensen. Kim Christensen just had she's just been a couple years with us now and just doing really well. Now, I can't seem to pull her in, Tony. She doesn't have a button next to her saying move to like the others do. Any thoughts on that?
No.
I've got Erida calling in here. Well, let's just start our conversation. And I'm not sure if we can let Kim know that for some reason she's not allowing us to see or move her. I'm just going to see if I don't have any other controls, Tony. Anything?
Yeah, I'll figure it out.
Tony, can you hear me?
I
can't hear you. You might be muted. Oh, that might be me that's muting things. We're eventually going to get this sorted. Like, what is this? Our third virtual event? We had two great virtual events last year and actually saw some people moving out of those. All right. So we will have to, Erida, do you mind going and checking on Kim there?
Yeah, for sure.
That'd be great. You can bring her back to your office if that's easier. Okay, so buying real estate in 2021, there's lots to talk about. Everything changed since last year. Going through COVID with folks that were having to move during the original shutdown, that was its own challenge. But now the market's been turbulent since then, and we've been seeing all kinds of different things taking place. I think it's more important now than ever before for buyers to be very astute, like buyers to be almost to beware in that case, because we've seen many different incidents happen over the last couple of years. What are you guys seeing in the marketplace in general as far as like what's hot and what's not?
We are definitely seeing properties that are move-in ready come into the market and just like, boom, they're gone. You know, typically in that, let's say the 400 to 475 range, gone. And then up in that middle to low 500 range in certain parts of the market, like St. Albert and Sherwood Park. Anything that's move-in ready is, is seeming to get a lot of traffic on opening weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely agree with that. We've also been seeing a lot more multiple offers than has been previous, and that's an interesting dynamic. Doro, you were talking with somebody recently, or you had actually helped somebody recently through a multiple offer scenario. And I think that that's daunting, especially when you're talking to people that are first-time home buyers. You know, they're not sure if that's something they should even proceed with.
That's correct, Taylor, and that's what we're here for, to make sure that when they want to proceed, we have our ducks in a row. So the only reason we would compete with multiple offers if we know it is worse, and doing a good market research so we know what a good offer would look like and not to overpay.
I think that that's really good advice overall. Taking a look at what buyers are facing when they're entering into the marketplace, I know that we see a lot of buyers that initially show concern. And I think that there's probably people watching that share that concern. What are the biggest concerns that you guys are talking to buyers as they enter the market about?
We're typically talking to them about, where they want to be, what kind of house they're looking at, and what's important to them. And so, that's what we're really trying to find out when they're first getting just started. And then it's always seems like everybody's worried about overpaying or not, missing out on the one. And so that's where we come in.
I totally agree. The missing the one is a big concern, especially when they see how fast they're going in some of their favorite neighborhoods. The other concern that we often see is a little bit of paying too much. Do you see instances where buyers are paying too much happening now?
We definitely do. We definitely see this in the new home market a lot. There's increase to costs with construction and all those things for sure. But we definitely know that just because you're paying more because the construction cost doesn't necessarily translate to resale value.
Yeah, that's some of the things that I think that we should be most wary about is that during this boom with new construction, like the whole world's attention has changed back to to building and to their houses. Like so many people are stressed with having to work from home and also having children at home all the time. It really puts a lot of pressure on the way that houses are normally used, because I think most families often live outside their home instead of inside their home.
Yeah, that's correct. So when we look at, getting people ready for multiple offer situations, Doro, is this something that you wanted to speak on?
Yeah, so when we get people ready for multiple offers, we talk about go into a market research to make sure we're not overpaying on the home, explaining to them what the process would be, how to provide a strong offer to the other agent. And so speaking of that offer that will be forwarded to the other agent, because that's a stressful situation and we want to keep the stress levels very low. So we forward a performance package that includes all the reasons the listing agent should consider on the offer, which does not just include the dollar amount. And in fact, I demonstrated how organized we are by already having a scheduled home inspection.
Yeah, I noticed that on your last offer. That was really neat when the seller basically has all the reasons to accept your offer, even against one that's the same as yours. Looks like we've got our technical issues sorted out, so we'll probably see both Erida and Kim join us again. So thank you so much for waiting during that, and we appreciate your patience. So Kim, out in the marketplace, you've been seeing a lot of buyers starting to engage, and sometimes there's just not the right product out for them. It's interesting to see this element from our side. I think that we're going to see more listings as we go week per week. Like doing my weekly updates, I've been seeing about 900 listings in the greater Edmonton area every week, but that doesn't necessarily mean 900 listings for the buyer that's engaging the market. That could end up just being a couple. So it's interesting that way. So thanks for getting everything sorted out with our technical difficulties. We appreciate you guys. Sometimes this stuff is not as easy, even as we did it last time. Like Facebook has now made some changes, and it's just one step at a time. But we do have an action-packed evening for everybody with all the experts. We're going to talk a little bit about how we approach the market, how we're helping buyers avoid paying too much or missing the one, because that's really what's on most people's mind. We have a huge lineup of speakers here. We're going to have Lika from TD. We're going to have Jeremy Hamelin from Quickfire Mortgage Solutions. We've also got more breakdown from the real estate team here. And this real estate team that you see on screen right now is the highest rated and reviewed real estate team in the greater Edmonton area on rankmyagent.com. And that's because we're dedicated to saving people from those 3-star client experiences. So are you guys ready to get everything going tonight?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I think that we want another one just like the other one. We had some clients come to us after the last virtual event, really excited to engage the market after we decoded it a little bit out for them. And I think that that's the same thing that we're going to be able to do tonight. If there's anything that we strive for, it's mostly to limit the stress that's involved in this. because I could only imagine that previously getting organized with everything that you need is one thing, but all of a sudden approaching the market now where there's concerns about COVID and what's going to happen next week, and some people have been worried about their job. I think that we can do a great job tonight helping people understand that the world is focused here right now. The world is focused on real estate, mostly because they canceled travel.
Pretty much.
But it's actually not a bad place to focus, especially because Edmonton's so affordable right now. I can't wait to hear what the mortgage people are going to say on how interest rates are moving. And we were even hearing people that are financing suites and financing upgrades. That's a pretty friendly environment on that side. And then helping people determine whether or not it's a good purchase. We got Edgar Castillo here from Canadian Residential Home Inspections. He's going to be talking a little bit about what makes a great inspection and how you can kind of avoid heartache in home inspections. I know last year, Kim, you were walking through a brand new build. It was a brand new build, and all of a sudden you almost got wet.
Yeah, so some people think that it's not that important just because it's a brand new home not to move forward with an inspection. What happened to my clients is we were doing our inspection on a brand new build, and Edgar actually was doing our inspection, and he went to fill the master bathroom tub up, check all the jets and the drainage, and all of a sudden we heard some noise in the garage, and I went out to the garage and it was coming through the walls. And then all of a sudden the ceiling absolutely collapsed the whole garage in. So, you know, it's very important, even though that it's a brand new build, that you do those inspections, because you find little things like that. It would have been terrible if they wouldn't have moved forward with the inspection, and their night they moved in and, you know, one of them had a bath, and this would have got all their belongings or their vehicles wet. So.
Absolutely. That's something that that would have been such a challenge while they were moving. It was so good to catch that early. And I understand that family is now taking possession of that house, right?
Yeah, so it was just as simple as it was one of the rings off the tub that just kind of wasn't the right fit. It was manufactured actually. And so it was easy fix, and they fixed it all up for them, and they, you know, took possession. It was scary at the time because, you know, that's a little bit scary, but working through everything and getting it all fixed up with the builder, and it's all good to go and brand new again.
That's fantastic. Well, that's great. Well, let's get on with this show. I'm going to let in our first guest here and ask my team to step into the breakout room. Tony, I think that you can make that happen for us. And we will see you guys in a little bit where we start talking more about the value of property and how to tell what the good stuff looks like. And as Tony gets everybody moved over there, I am going to...
I would like to move too, Tony.
I'm trying.
Noro, you don't want to be left behind?
I mean, I stay. Let me know when I can go.
No worries.
Go to breakout.
Yep, click that.
Click that. I'm done.
Okay.
Am I there?
Get this settled yet? Let's talk to Annie about if I can even get my screen share to work. This is going awesome. Tony, you got everybody clearing out here?
I will get everybody up.
All right. Well, let's get Annie in here. I think she's waiting in the room. I'm going to move her over. Annie, do we have you here?
I'm here.
Excellent.
Hi.
We're just getting everybody moved over. I think Erida and Doro seem to be coming back in.
I'll figure it out. I got it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. How you doing, Annie?
Oh, I'm good. It's the first time I've put makeup on for a while, I was telling the other people. So this is good.
Are you normally using like filters then?
No, I'm usually not putting makeup on.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you dressing up for us tonight.
Yeah, it was fun.
And how are you finding our market happening so far in 2021?
Let's just say I've been doing this for 17 years and I have never seen it like how it is right now.
Wow. That's really interesting. So you probably having a lot of people coming through, a lot of pre-approvals taking place, and a lot of, we're seeing some fast deals happening right now.
Yeah, but it's taken a while sometimes to get that adjudication done, right? So I know you guys are asking for a little bit more time now, which is very thankful from our side.
Yeah, we'll really appreciate how much you help us out in doing that. Thank you so much for making sure that our clients get through this process and really understand kind of that balance between budget and what their actually spending ability is, because we like to have that conversation carefully. Now, when clients are coming to you initially, a lot of people feel intimidated about the pre-approval process. That's probably part of your first call.
100%. And one of my first questions will be to a client is, what do you want to spend per month? I don't want to tell you what you can afford, because sometimes I can tell you can afford a lot, but that doesn't mean that that's what you want to afford. A lot of times the mortgage aspect doesn't take things into account, like traveling once upon a time that we did, right? Or childcare. But those are still huge expenses in our lives that we need to consider, not just the ones that are like reporting on our credit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I think people are concerned about. Like, I was talking to somebody the other day and they were like, yeah, I think I'm ready, but I want to find the house first because I'm really worried that somebody's going to pull my credit.
Yeah, no, you want to do all that first.
Yeah, like, it's such heartbreak when you actually find somebody who is engaging the marketplace and then they find the house that they want and then they run out of time. Like there's a lot that needs to happen from the time that they find a house until they can actually confidently remove conditions safely, including an appraisal. And this kind of stuff varies depending on the speed of the market. And what you're saying is, for the last 17 years, we're starting to see a peak right here.
100%. And I think I've never seen rates this low, right? People have never had to spend so much time in their homes with their significant others, their pets, their kids, right? Like,
Isn't
I'm
that the
doing
truth,
this.
though?
Right? Like, you need more space. So I think a lot of people are just feeling that crunch in more ways than one. And they want more space, or they want a more livable space. It's not always about being bigger. It's about something that works for them, right?
Absolutely. And I think that a lot of people that are engaging the market, they may have come and talked to somebody like yourself even a couple of years ago. How would you describe the lending experience for someone today as compared to when the stress test and stuff like that was in the news? Like, was it easier to get a mortgage 2 years ago or 3 years ago or now?
So interestingly enough, it was way easier, obviously, but I think of right now, and I think that stress test is the most important now than ever. Because if you think about it, putting that stress test in, and somebody can afford a mortgage on a 1.5% interest rate, very easy. But we know that this isn't the norm. We know that this isn't going to last forever. So what does that mean? That means that people are not going to be able to have these types of rates forever. It's great now to get into it, but in 5 years when you have to renew, if that stress test wasn't in there, you would essentially be SOL, because you cannot afford the house that you got at 1.5% now at 3%, which will be the norm, or 3.5%, right? So, I mean, there was years where we've seen it at 5.5%. It seems like so far long ago, but really wasn't. It's still in the same last 10 years type of deal. So yeah,
absolutely. And I really feel what you're saying there. And I like how you're leading with advice. You're talking about what these clients want to purchase, how their affordability works before we're actually talking about what they're capable of. And that's a great conversation to have. And even though the stress test is something that's there to protect them, the rate environment is actually making for a pretty welcoming experience right now.
Yeah.
And
we have things like, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, like 2 or 3 years ago, when there wasn't the same experience going on related to COVID, I think that there was a lot more people that were standing on the outside because of those pressures that are changing. Like, how many people now are working from home?
So many. Probably everybody that can, right? That doesn't have to physically be somewhere. But other things are like the government incentive, where they're helping some people with the down payment, right? It's not something like, it's not free money, but it could get you into a home $20,000 or $30,000 more, let's say, just because they're helping you with that down payment. So you're saving on CMHC, you're saving on that monthly payment. So there is certain things that when it first came out, I was like, what the heck? This is not, anything great. But now that I'm seeing it and I'm using it a lot, it is beneficial for some people.
Can you
And
give
it's
us a
getting in there.
rundown of that so that the buyers watching right now can get a little understanding of how that program works?
Yeah. So basically, if somebody makes 50, let's just say 80,000 a year. Okay. If somebody makes 80,000 a year, they can buy a house 4 times that income roughly. Okay. And then the government will gift them to hold on to 5%. So if they come up with 5% of their own, the government will give them 5% to put towards as a down payment. Or if they come up with 10% of their own, the government will give them 5%. Or if they are if they're buying a build, they might do 10% for you. Okay. So there's different options on how the government helps. Now they're going to ride the highs and the lows with you. So for example, if the value of the home diminishes, if you were to sell that home, you pay them back 5% of the sale of that home price. But if it goes up, you're going to pay them 5% of the increased value. You can pay before you sell the house. It doesn't have to be at the time, but you have to pay it back in full. So that's kind of a way to get your foot in the door. Because as you know, $20,000 more can get you a lot more house.
Absolutely. I think that that's something that a lot of people could understand, like even at the cost of funds right now, what is it approximately for $10,000, like $50 a month or less?
50 for 50. So for every 10K, you go up or down in a purchase price, your payment monthly changes about $50 roughly.
And the affordability that you described is actually one of the most desirable affordabilities in the country. 4 times the average household income is the average house here. So that's
right.
really in reach for a lot of people that might be standing on the outside just because they've heard concern over the last few years.
Or they're so tight on those numbers that just this extra 5% makes it so much more comfortable.
Well, sometimes that could be the difference between if you take into consideration condo fees, you could get into a duplex maybe instead of a condo. It could
100%.
move you from a duplex to a single family detached house.
Yeah.
Ah, that's fantastic. Well, you know what? I think it's almost time to announce our winner for our Ember mug. So we're going to move on and make the announcement for the winner here. And then we're going to turn all the contact information for anyone who's inquiring over to you. Now, Annie from TD is going to be available if anybody has any inquiries. She's super fast at getting information. Like when somebody comes to you and wants to talk about a pre-approval, I'm pretty sure at the end of the first phone call, they kind of know what they're talking about. And then how long is it until you actually have a pre-approval in their hands?
If they can get me the paperwork, because I like to see paper. I don't like to do it on what people think they make or have and so forth. I can probably get it turned around on a pre-approval within 24 hours. No problem.
Oh yeah, that's fantastic. 24 hours and somebody could be shopping. So right now it's Tuesday night and you could end up talking to somebody and they could be like going out with Tony or Doro this weekend.
Yeah, even sooner.
That's fantastic. Is there anything that you would like to say to the folks watching here? Is there anything that you wish more buyers knew about what's available in the market right now from mortgages?
So the best thing that I want people to know is that you can't lose by knowing more. So finding out where your situation is today, I might not be able to give you an answer that you can go shop tomorrow because of the situation, but we can set up a plan. And with the plan, we have a goal and we can reach it together, right? So I don't want people to be scared or afraid to see where they're at, to do a financial checkup and find out what they can do or find out where they want to get so I can tell them how to get there. So don't be scared to ask some questions and, see what your situation is.
I really think that's a good advice. And that's something that we do regularly when clients are coming to us and maybe they don't have a great relationship with the person that's doing their mortgage or they didn't know them beforehand. We always suggest, why don't you talk to Annie? Why don't you let her be your benchmark? Because if that conversation really goes right, great, you may want to switch. And if you are already in a great place, then it'd be good to know.
And I'll let them know. I'm not going to sit there and tell them no. If they're good, they're good.
Well, we really appreciate your donation of a prize tonight as well. You had such a thoughtful gift, $100 gift certificate to Petro. So we'll be drawing for that in our Facebook Live group. We really appreciate that you did that. And thank you so much for joining us tonight and talking a little bit about affordability and how people can make good choices. If someone out there is wondering, definitely reach out to Annie. Her contact information is readily available on our website. You can search for her because she's one of our trusted experts. We really like how you take care of people.
Thank you for having me, you guys. Taylor, Hack, and Company.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. All right, we're moving along here, and I think that I've got my little share going. We have Annie on the way out, and we're going to be advertising for her contest. And we also have another mortgage perspective on the way in. So I'm going to introduce, we're actually going to draw first for our prize for the Ember mug. And it looks like we do have a winner. And Samantha Ann Lean is the winner of our Ember mug, and coming in next is Stefan from Quickfire Mortgage Solutions. And I'm not sure if Tony is making that happen. I am trying to, oh, there we go. And here he is. Okay, we've got Jeremy. We're working for sound now. From Quickfire Mortgage Solutions.
Nope.
Hey, you're watching the live stream. You're catching me just a little bit late on the live stream. And now we see Jeremy on the main screen. Here he is.
We are correcting our audio. Give us 1 second, please.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you definitely want to catch the audio on the Zoom and not on the live stream because you'll be a little bit behind there.
We are set.
Excellent. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you, Taylor?
I'm doing really good. Let's share the background. I'm working on these backgrounds here. We have Jeremy Hamelin. He is talking about financing for the future. And we appreciate that you came in to help us out tonight. You've been talking to a lot of people so far as we move through 2021 about their different options. And you were talking to just our team the other day about some of the neat options in the marketplace. What do you have, like, what are most of the conversations you're having right now with people that are engaging the marketplace as we kind of enter into this hot streak in 2021?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you very much for having me tonight. I really appreciate it. I'm super excited to be here. And, you know, a lot of the conversations right now are focused on pre-approvals. They're focused on people trying to get ready, get into that spring market in a way that they can shop with confidence, though. They don't want to just jump into the market kind of gung-ho. They want to have everything lined up, have their ducks in a row, ready to go. So a lot of the focus right now has been on those pre-approvals, getting things exactly like I said, ready to go for spring to hand off to you guys.
Well, we really appreciate you doing that and making sure that those are always steadfast. That's the biggest thing that we worry about when we're dealing with anybody in mortgages. Is when we're getting those clients engaging the market, are they in a position to actually move forward without any concern there? So we appreciate the conversations that you have. And a lot of the times you're talking to clients about their situation first. Can you let us know what it's like to have that initial conversation?
Yeah, you know, I love it. I'm a huge relationship guy. I love getting to sit down and chat with my clients, get to know what their goals are, not just for now, but also in the future. Are you guys looking at having a kid in a couple of years? Because if so, we better get you into a mortgage that's either portable or maybe has a short term. Or, you know, maybe are you looking at doing an investment? Because then we can look at a purchase plus improvements and doing a basement suite. So, you know, a big thing for me is really getting to know my clients, figure out what their goals are, not just for now, but also in the future.
I think that that's a great goal. What do you think that the biggest misnomers are before people talk to you? Like, what are the things that they think is they're thinking about mortgages that you kind of have to dispel?
You know what? Actually, that's a great question. I had a client today. She wants to buy a house. She's got the income. Her credit's great, but she thought she had to file her taxes first. She actually didn't know that we can just use her T4 slips and her pay stubs and a job letter. She thought she had to go to her accountant, get all of those tax documents filed, and then she can come and talk to us. So we've actually been able to speed up her process by about 60 days by getting everything done now.
I bet you she's really upset about that.
Not at all.
Well, that's great. I think that there should be more people gaining that type of information early on. You were also mentioning that as you're talking to new buyers, they kind of come to you a little bit guarded. They're worried that you're going to talk to them in ways that make everything sound good that aren't going to be good later. And that's not my experience of you at all.
I really appreciate that, Taylor. One thing that I personally really believe in, and our team as a whole, is education first. So, one of our little slogans, I know Tony knows it well, and I absolutely try to live by it every day, is we like to do 99% educating and 1% funding. At the end of the day, I firmly believe that any broker can get you those great rates. We all essentially have access to, the same lenders, to the same institutions, but really the true value lies in that educational experience that you're going to receive. Do you understand what you're signing? Did your broker explain to you the pros and cons of your mortgage? Because even the best mortgage out there, I promise you, there's still a drawback or two. So we want to make sure that our clients are understanding absolutely every aspect of that mortgage. So yes, you're 100% right. They do come a little guarded at times, but once we start explaining things, start educating them, showing them that the true value is in understanding the product, everyone's good to go.
I really appreciate that. And I think that more people should be having these types of conversations, because a lot of people feel under pressure because they're coming to talk to you after they've already found a house. They're in the pending process. It's a day after they agreed on the offer and you only have 8 days left. Exactly.
That definitely happens.
I wish more people would understand that is that's what it's like. If you get a mortgage after you find the house, where
100%.
really they could be talking to you how early. Like if somebody was thinking that they were going to shop in the spring and maybe they're going to start taking a look around in April, when's the right time to call Jeremy from Quickfire?
Another great question. So, realistically, we can do rate holds for up to 120 days. So 4 months out if a client is looking to shop now. But if they, maybe potentially have a couple credit hiccups, or they have some things they want us to review their file so they can understand it properly, I would honestly say as early as a year out. That gives us a great opportunity to get that credit, get the income documents, really figure everything out. And then we can let our clients know, hey, we do have this one credit hiccup we need to work on. So let's put a plan in place to do that together. Or potentially maybe it's on the income side. Hey, Taylor, I really need you to earn $65,000 this year to get into the house you're thinking of. Then you know exactly what you need to work for throughout the year.
I think that is great information, because I think there's a lot of people out there that don't even think someone would want to talk to them a year out. And you're saying that might be the best time.
Couldn't agree more. I absolutely love talking to people. It is never a waste of time. Anytime that we can sit down with someone and they trust us to really look at their file, look at their finances with them and help them prepare for the future. That's why I got into this business.
Man, that's awesome. And that's one of the reasons that we consider you a trusted expert. Now, there was something that you dropped as a nugget the other day. We are talking as a team, and you were mentioning that right now we're starting to smell fix and flips everywhere. And there's some financing that is really set up. So it could be that there's a family out there that is thinking that their future is a duplex and they're just not happy with that. Right. And you were saying that if we found a property that was set up properly, they could actually get an income suite in the basement, and there's a lender that would finance that?
100%. So it's called a purchase plus improvements. It's a super cool product that a lot of lenders do offer. So the purchase plus improvements allows you to take out a mortgage on the home, and then you can finance a certain amount of that property, up to $40,000 or more in certain circumstances. And then you can actually use that money to do the renovations to create the basement suite. That $40,000, I know it seems like a lot. It doesn't seem to make sense, borrowing money to borrow money, kind of as it was. But you're actually borrowing that $40,000 to invest in yourself and to invest in your future. So that 40 grand is actually only going to cost you on average about $160 a month. And then what we can do with that is we can run a market rents analysis to figure out what that suite, what that unit would actually rent for at the end of the day. Let's assume, for example, that specific unit was going to rent for about $1,200. Subtract the $160 that you had to put into your mortgage, that you had to increase your payment. You're still coming home with over $1,000 extra income a month. And those same lenders will actually allow us to take 50% of that money, put it back into your income, and actually increase your purchasing power.
Wow. So not only could you get a suite, but you could include the eventual rent.
Extra income.
That's
100%.
incredible. That's definitely going to make some more options for some people out there that they may not have considered. And we definitely know some people that are or some properties that would fit that bill coming to the market. You know, there's so many of those bungalows that have the right setup at the backyard or at the back step to kind of lead down the stairs. And if they were built in the 1970s, the neat thing is that economics works with you. Because in the 1970s, if you took the average family and adjusted it for inflation, they'd be impoverished by today's standards. So in those basements is like carpet with no underlay. They got like the wood panel walls.
Ooh,
You're not
the
even going to
wood
shed a
panel
tear where you're
walls.
taking that out to get your new income suite.
You know, quick story, Taylor. I actually grew up in Clairview on the north side, and the house I grew up in, it had those beautiful wood panel walls.
Yeah, that's something that I remember from my childhood as well. That was back when they didn't have all the great real estate terms for what it was. I think you called it a rumpus room.
Yeah.
Well, we really appreciate you coming by. This is Jeremy Hamelin from Quickfire Mortgage Solutions, talking to you about options that might be more dynamic than the options that you're getting currently, talking to you about making relationships with clients that you may not be getting from your current lender. And if you're taking a look at this summer or next summer, what Jeremy's saying is it's never too early to start laying the foundation so that you can make this an awesome plan, because it could be that some of these solutions are things that you don't know about. Do you have a message for the marketplace as we enter into 2021? Is there something that you wish more people knew about?
You know what, honestly, I wish more people would contact their mortgage broker, contact their mortgage professional, even if the thought enters their head, not only of buying, but also of selling. We want to make sure that, you know, maybe the payout penalty, we want to make sure we can work around that. Maybe that mortgage is portable. So as soon as you think real estate, think realtor and think broker.
I appreciate that. And that's a good term because it could be when you renew as well. Well, Thank you so much for coming by. We really appreciate you. Everybody can find your contact information on our trusted expert list because we consider you a trusted expert. So thanks for coming by tonight. We really appreciate it.
And you know what? I really appreciate you having me, Taylor.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. As we move our crowd forward here, my name is Taylor. This is Hack & Company at RE/MAX River City, and we are the highest rated and reviewed real estate team on rankmyagent.com. We're looking forward to helping as many families as we can this year avoid those 3-star experiences by making sure that they're in a position to make their next move remarkable. We're going to welcome the team back into the room. I think I've got these controls working. We got Tony, we got Erida, we got Kim. This is going the right direction now. You know what? If I was really slick, I would have a fancy background right now, right? Like I would have something that said maybe the segment that we were leading on. Did it work?
That looks good.
Hey, Taylor can run a computer. It only took 42 minutes. Awesome. Well, thank you guys for coming back. When we're helping people engage the marketplace, when people are looking online, I think that they're looking for like, can I live here? Can I live here now? Oh, I could live there. I could live there for sure. But when we take a look at real estate, we take a look at it a little bit differently. So let's talk about our buyers moving through this experience, because they're going to start by kind of being concerned, like we talked about initially. The biggest concerns of most buyers out there, what do we know them as? They don't want to
Missing the one.
Yeah, they don't want to miss the one. That's like the number one thing we hear. What's the number 2 thing we hear?
Overpaying. They don't want to do that.
So concerning to think about spending this much money, and they don't want to miss the one. They don't want to overpay. And then we're going to take them out into the market, and you often are showing a collection of properties one after the next. And a buyer is going to get a feeling, right? They're going to be like, oh man, this one feels better than the other ones that I had taken a look at. But at that point, it's going to be us to step forward. Because when buyers are looking at properties, they go through and get themselves prepped. Like they go and have those mortgage pre-approvals done by Annie from TD, or also by Jeremy from Quickfire. They have great professionals work there, and then they go and find that house. But then after that, how do you know that that deal's a good deal? Like I know when you go to the car dealership, they're going to have like manufacturer's suggested retail price on the stickers. I know when I go to the grocery store, it's the same thing. But are prices set with a standard in real estate? I think prices are set with a dartboard in real estate. I think that there's many houses on our market right now that the list price is a direct reflection of how the seller feels about what their next steps are. Like, if I got this much money, I would get the house that I'm looking for, no problem. And that's why it's so important to start to reveal what makes the value of houses. So we like to boil it down. We like to boil everything down to its essence. And how we look at this is the value of a property is basically where it is, what it is, and how well it's kept. Those are the three major factors, or what we know as being location, characteristics, and condition. So Kim, you're out in the market regularly taking buyers through this, and often we're doing a buyer consultation in advance where we're showing this information on a screen. When you're talking to people, getting them prepared for the market about location, where their house is matters so much because they can't move it. How are you helping them understand what location means to them?
So basically, for location, there's above average location, there's average location, and below average location. So breaking that down, average location would be, the average experience. It could be, in front of a collective road. Below average would be backing onto a condo style building or a busy road. And then above average would be like backing onto water, backing onto a park, backing onto green space. So we just want to make sure, that they're picking the right location that fits them, that will, benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, like if they have kids, they may want to be in a cul-de-sac, right?
Yeah.
But I've actually had clients of mine in the past ask that they not be like buried into the neighborhood, so they have to do all the slow driving on their way through. Location can mean a lot of different things for a lot of different people, but I like that you mentioned condos, because I'm not sure if you've been in a backyard that backs onto a condo building, but in some cases it feels like the world is watching every time you go to barbecue.
Mm-hmm. Or you don't get that sunlight, that that natural light, because you're being blocked by a big condo building.
Yeah, exposure is a big deal. And that's one of the things that we find that isn't necessarily easy to navigate from the public tools. I appreciate you sharing on that. And the other thing that we're often talking about is the characteristics of a property, or how big is it and who does it serve. I think that could be so confusing if you're just scrolling on realtor.ca. Like you could see a 2,000 square foot 2-story, and then you could see a 1,500 square foot bungalow. And, that would make a lot of sense if the 2,000 square foot 2-story had more livable space. But if they both have fully finished basements, those houses are really close to the same size. And the bungalow actually has an edge in its overall square footage. So I think that there's many things that we can do to like decode real estate, but also, a lot of people get excited about the pictures. But Dora, when you're walking clients through the different homes that you walk through, there's some pretty significant variance in condition. What do you see?
Yeah, there is, Taylor. So we're deciding here between, trying to make a decision between an average, a pristine, and low conditions. So, and when I talk average, that is a home that it shows that people lived in there. It's not perfect. It might have a few nicks, but nothing is broken and it is move-in ready. So that would be the average. And when we're talking about a pristine condition, we might be looking at a house here that was lived in by an older couple, with no pets, very well maintained, down to the windows and the roof. We also call this pride of home ownership, and of course, move-in ready. And the low condition would be these homes need work. For example, a handyman special, or a home that requires a lot of updates and might not be move-in ready. So a definite indicator of wear and tear of floors. And like if the hardwood looks like a skating rink, or when the carpet has these roads in there, or it's pretty matted and frayed. Yeah, so these are good indicators of a worn out house, that needs a lot of work.
That's interesting. So when you're walking through a property, you get a really good sense just by looking at the flooring. You can kind of see if that hardwood looks like a skating rink, evidence of dogs and so on. And having your eye on that really helps the buyers move through the house and just get a sense if they like it overall. Exactly. Because obviously you can buy a property that has low condition as long as you don't pay a price for a high condition home. But I find that it's not just a difference in the condition, it's also upgrades. Like Erida, we were walking through a house the other day and walking into the kitchen, from one kitchen to the next kitchen, from one showing to the next, it was a pretty big difference. I remember you making comments about how the one property had upgraded cabinets. What are you looking for when you're stepping into a kitchen?
So you might want to see if the cabinets are to the ceiling, if the countertops are granite, things like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of upgrades to be had in those pendant lights and some recessed lighting. I think everybody likes a double wall oven, but you can kind of get your heart set on those things and start to look past some of the other elements. I'm not sure if you guys have had this experience, but do you ever have a friend that had like a bad boyfriend? And he was like really fun, but only worked sometimes?
Yeah.
This is what a purchase could be for you if you do it blind, right? Like they say that love is blind, but at some point you got to open your eyes and see what you got there. And I think it's so important to have these conversations up front, like Doro was mentioning, to talk about what condition are you comfortable with? Is there anybody here that's handy, or is this something that you would have to be taken care of by professionals? That's going to change the house that fits you. Or what Kim was mentioning, like, do you have a family with young kids where you really want to control traffic? Or are you in a situation where you wouldn't want to be next to a school? Like, we serve a lot of shift workers, and those bell buzzers are something that we can end up talking about all the time. And then also taking a look at the condition, like moving from one house to the next and taking a look at which upgrades it has is something that you can see. But what about those weak points? Is there anything that needs renovation? Are there upgrades that are inconsistent or of poor quality? That's the hard one to go after, or the hard one to see. It's so lovely in the pictures when it looks good. But then when you go there and you take a look down by the baseboards and you see awful gaps, that's tough to take. So, Tony, once we collect all this data and have all these conversations up front about what someone would really like, how does that turn into, essentially really creating the readiness with them?
Yeah, that's awesome. We love having these conversations, and we love moving people over to the Pro Tools. So they've got all their pre-approvals, they're ready to go. Let's get them custom fitted, just like a tailor would make a suit, right? Let's get them fitted so they know exactly what neighborhoods they would consider that's close to all the schools that they need to be close to. How many bedrooms? Is there enough for everybody? And the public tools don't give you access to things like a lot direction or lot size, or maybe even where the master or primary bedroom is located on which floor. And so these are things that we can do to tweak using the Pro Tools. So as an example, with the direction of the house, we actually have the ability to determine which way the house faces in our search. So the most desirable for most people would be having a south facing backyard. So that would give us the ability to look for north, northeast, or northwest facing homes, and then basically, hide all the rest of the stuff that you wouldn't consider. And then it also gives us the ability to see how often these properties actually come to market. And so if your frequency is low, we might say, the house that you would consider probably won't be here till October, based on the fact that it only comes around maybe once or twice a year. And then the other thing that we like about the Pro Tools is it gives families the ability to, search and favorite the houses they like. So instead of saying, hey, honey, did you see that green garage? You could be like, the one with the heart. That's the one we want to see, Tony. Let me know.
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
It just makes everything really easy from our standpoint, and the buyers really like that.
Yeah, because you're talking about Collab Center, where they can go in, they both have login credentials. Mm-hmm. And then as one spouse hits the heart, the other spouse can go in and check the favorites. Like, I'm not sure if it's the same in every family, but in my family, I know that my wife is going to look at 300 houses and I'm going to look at 3. And that's how it's going to roll. Like, she's going to essentially take a look at more. She's probably more interested in seeing all the available options. But I can tell you that as a real estate expert, when we bought a house, I saw one. My wife is like, we're going to see this house. And I said, okay. Is it?
Yeah, and the other
nice?
thing that we like to do with these Pro Tool searches. Yeah, the other thing we like to do is that we get to see the good stuff on day 0, right? Where the public tools there's a bit of a delay to update, and then you also have to be like on it. Like, when do you know? What time do you go see all the new listings on realtor.ca? Well, with us, all the good stuff, as soon as it hits the MLS, it ends up in your inbox. And so, before the public tools families see it, and then we get the opportunity to potentially buy it before the other people even get a chance to see it.
Wait a second, Doro, the other night you were in multiple offers. How many other offers were there?
6.
6 offers. So I'm wondering how many people would have bought this house that were scrolling, because like last week, I just did my segment on LinkedIn. There was 900 listings in the greater Edmonton area last week. So if you were scrolling and sifting, by the time you're like, oh, we should go see this. And then if you don't have an agent, you're contacting maybe the listing agent, making an appointment with them. And that house is, well, you know what? Doro's client got it.
Yep.
So that is the pace for the good stuff out there. And I like that you really shaped that out, Tony, because as you were describing it, if someone was prepped the way that we've talked about so far, so they have their mortgage pre-approval done, they are now going through a buyer consultation where they understand what's out there and they get a sense of how the value works. And then all of a sudden on day 0, as soon as an agent hits the button to load the listing, they get a notification. Both the husband and the wife can go together, take a look at what's going on in Collab Center, and then contact one of us and arrange a showing. I don't know that you can get faster than that. So I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate that you brought our clients to the win out of that 6 offer, multiple offer. So thank you guys all for coming in and talking a little bit about how we help people through the parts of choosing a house and make sure that they're in they're in the right place at day 0. And if we're introducing the concept of day 0 right now, then you're probably not going to be in a position to get those most desirable houses. So now we're going to move on to our next segment, and I'm going to talk about prizes as these folks find their way into or out of this space, and we bring in our next guest. So Emily has sent me this list, and she says that there is a series of prizes right now in the discussion on this live stream. So you can scroll down and leaving a comment, you can enter into the $200 cash prize from Edgar. Edgar Castillo feels as though the best gift certificate is the universal one known as cash, and he is making a $200 cash prize. Amazon Fire Stick and adapter from Michelle Martin. She's going to be coming up a little while earlier. Now, I have to say that Randy Hack bought AirPods. And Randy Hack donating AirPods is amazing to me because I am Randy Hack's son. And that is an incredible prize coming from my dad. And then we're also seeing a Google Home connectivity package from Jeremy Hamelin, $100 GC to local, support local from Christina Henriques, $100 GC from Petro Canada, put some fuel in your car from Annie Lika, and $100 gift certificate to Vifale Thai restaurant, which is Reilly McLaughlin's favorite place. Reilly is with Beaver. He's coming up, and you guys can put your names in the comments right on this live stream right now to get into this contest action, because it could be a very easy win for you. We've had some people in the past that there was not as many entries on all of the contests, and this could be your option or your opportunity right now. So let us bring over somebody that's been giving me financial advice as long as I can remember. And I think that they should definitely be giving you some financial advice. And to talk a little bit about protecting in your investment, we have my father, Randy Hack. Hey, Dad.
How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. I have to say that this is an incredible moment for me because your video is just getting incredible. And that I think that we should start our segment with a special announcement because there was somebody that's special to both you and I that had a birthday yesterday. Actually, a birthday today. I've already talked
Today.
about it earlier.
Yes. Yes.
So happy birthday, Regan Hack. She is my older sister. She is your first daughter. And she is celebrating a birthday. My understanding is it's a 29 repeat.
Yeah. Yeah. You're at 28.
Yeah. She might be going the other way. That's fantastic. So thanks so much for hopping on this event. I really appreciate that you have these conversations with your kids, and I wanted to make sure that we were able to have this conversation together, because what we're talking about is those people going through the milestone of owning a house. And you know what? Like, as far as it goes, your numbers as a dad is pretty awesome. You have 4 kids that are 4 homeowners.
Yes. Yeah.
That's an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that you arranged it somehow by hypnotizing me so they're all within bicycle distance of your house.
Yeah. Well, we like seeing the grandkids for sure.
Yeah. That's amazing. And when people are going through this milestone, I know that a lot of them, once they spend this amount, because in the greater Edmonton area, we're talking about $400,000 for an average purchase price, give or take. And that's really like based on some of the mortgage people we were talking to earlier, it's $50 for every 10,000. And that ends up being about a $2,000 mortgage payment for something like that. Now, they're going to get some options from their mortgage lender on insurance, but what's your perspective overall on entering this kind of new level of risk for them and how they should be taking a look at this situation?
Well, for most people, it takes both partners' income to qualify. And you're in a situation where they're making the biggest investment of their life. That's what happens for most people. The situation is that they get into to see their banker, and they're doing their mortgage, and then all of a sudden the situation pops up about insurance, and they probably haven't talked about it. They haven't given it much thought, simply because they're very excited about that new home. So they're in there, they're signing papers, they're initialing here, they're signing there, everything's in small print. There's not a whole lot being read. Everybody's excited, and then they're asked if they should want to buy insurance. And so they, in most cases, they think, well, this is a big investment, so absolutely we should, So then they go through the questions very quickly. There's 5 or 6 questions, because with the bank, the insurance is actually a group form of insurance, so it's designed to be quick issue and very no underwriting, and just tick, tick, tick. And so at the end, if they answer the questions correctly, they qualify for the insurance. But when you're looking at a bank insurance policy, bank mortgage insurance policy.
So just to make sure I'm hearing you correctly, what you're saying is that the way that this process takes place is they're offered a product that's convenient and readily available to them at the first point where they're going to have this discussion. But it may not be the best product. What do you consider a better product? Like, my understanding is that you offer, like, the bank's going to offer mortgage insurance, and then you've got a different product of term insurance.
Well, the situation is that, for what you have at the bank, it's not a bad product, but the things that you have to understand is that it doesn't give you all the flexibility that you would have if you purchased an individual policy.
So going with an individual policy, what do you see as just the clear advantages?
Well, the clear advantage would be that the policies, the premiums, they underwrite it up front. So they ask you all the questions. If they have any second questions, they will contact your doctor and obtain the information, so that when they decide to issue that policy, they've done all the investigation up front.
So an approval is actually like a promise.
That's right. And you receive a contract, and the policy stays level. It doesn't decrease with the mortgage like a bank insurance policy does.
So what you're saying is that, like, over time you pay down a mortgage, right? And so your payments are less, but your coverage is also less?
Yes, because it's only designed to cover the debt.
So as you diminish the debt, you're paying it down, but do your insurance payments change?
No, the premium stays the same.
Whereas with your insurance, the premium is going to stay the same, and the coverage, does it also go down?
No, it stays level.
So that's really interesting. So you can essentially be sure that even because, like, it's not just about the debt to the house, like, you want that definitely covered. But
right.
Aren't you building equity in that house, and wouldn't you want to save that too?
I don't understand.
Well, if I had a $400,000 insurance policy on a $400,000 house and I paid it over to $200,000, that's a lot of work I did to get that $200,000 in there.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And this term life insurance policy is actually going to cover the equity that I built, not just the amount that I owe.
Right. The other big advantage with an individual policy that you own is you designate the beneficiary so that like in the event that say one partner passes on, when the policy is with the bank's the beneficiary. The house gets paid out, and that's the end of the story. When you have an individual policy, you have a beneficiary, they receive the money. They then decide whether they want to pay out the mortgage or if they want to just continue making payments.
That's really interesting when you look at the rate environment that we're in now, because like it could be that it's better for the spouse that's the survivor to have that cash, to even be able to use that cash to make money and
Right.
not have to pay off their mortgage like the other scenario would be.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, if you have a young couple and say they were in a car accident, and one of them was killed, the other partner was injured, you have a situation where if you had a mortgage policy through the bank, the house gets paid for, but you've got an injured party there that maybe couldn't work and they have no other money. So they'd be in dire straits. It might not be a good time to sell the house, you know, where if they had an individual policy, they would be able to just continue making mortgage payments. They would have money to live on. They'd be able to get by at maybe a time when housing prices were down and wait until it was a good time to sell. So it gives you, a lot of options. And the other part of it is that when you are concentrating on life insurance rather than a mortgage and go through a needs analysis and start considering all the things that your family depends on, you're looking at covering off your debt, but you're also looking at covering off the income. Because if you don't cover off the income, your family might be in a situation where your kids have to change schools, change friends, sell the house and move someplace else. So it's good to have your options open with an individual policy.
I appreciate that perspective. And also, I think that's a lot of things that people didn't know, whereas the different types of coverage, the convenience can really get you if you're not taking a look at what their options are. Now, I know that all your contact information is in our trusted expert list, so people can easily get in touch with you. But do you have a message for anybody who's approaching home ownership in 2021? Is there anything that you hope that they would do based on your experience with people in the past?
Well, I think that, if they're, they should discuss insurance and they should meet with their advisor and do a full needs analysis so that they have insurance in place, all the insurance in place that they need. Then like in the interest rate environment right now, mortgages are very competitive. So if you have an individual policy in place and you're looking at moving from one mortgage institution to another, you usually have to requalify. If you have an individual policy, you don't have to go that route. So yeah, I would say have the conversation with your advisor.
Well, that's great. I think that, really when people take a look at buying a property, they probably haven't been in this situation before. It's a little bit confusing because up until this point, almost everything that they buy on their own. Like you buy your own car, you buy your own television, all of those things, the major purchases up to this point. This is the first time where you actually get staff. You have people like us to help you choose a property and make a good decision that way. You have some people advising you on how you're going to borrow the money in order to make that property work. But I don't think that should be where it stops. There's some more information that you can gain. And one of that would be how to protect your investment. So thanks so much for coming by and talking to us a little bit about how people protect their investment, about that highlight between mortgage insurance and term life insurance. And I appreciate you coming by because I just think it's excellent to have you on our live stream. This is a cool experience for me to get to business with my dad.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Well, let's bring all the team back. Thank you so much, Randy Hack from Balance by Planning. If you want to make sure that your financial decisions aren't necessarily made with information that you got secondhand from other people that didn't really tell you, because I know that that's what a lot of people get from their parents, is they get, hey, this is maybe what you should do, but I did it differently. It's really good to have somebody to sound that off of. So thank you so much, and you have an excellent night.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and welcome back, team. We are going to talk a little bit about how people can change how they shop, because what we'd really like to see is more people shop like a pro. So in taking people out into the marketplace and helping them understand, really to take our buyer experience through its process. Now they've gone out into the marketplace, they got prepped, they got a little bit more information, they're zeroing in on a house. What now? Right? This is where the rubber meets the road. How do you guys know if it's the one? Right? Like you're walking clients through properties all the time. How do you know if it's the one?
I mean, you can definitely feel when people are pretty excited about a property, right? They just like, they go, honey, like they got that look in their eye, like they don't want anybody else to see it. They kind of want to throw the key away from the key box, you know?
I see what you're getting at.
When they start to picturing moving in already, putting their furniture in there. Oh, our couch would look good here.
See, that always used to make me nervous because I was like, man, even a baby monitor is a listening device. Like, shh, don't say anything, you know? It's so interesting to see how that's going, but it's almost like you can feel them hold their breath, right?
Yeah.
And I would say like some people kind of walk out early and they're like, you know, maybe that is the one. I was like, no, that's not the one. They're like, what do you mean? Just like Tony said, you guys are going to want to hide the key box. Like it's not the one you want. It's the one you're afraid is going to escape you.
Mm-hmm.
So in talking about how to buy like a pro, I think that we should really be highlighting how to avoid the common mistakes.
Absolutely.
So when we talk about saving people from 3-star experiences, what do you guys know is the best path to that mundane experience? If you wanted to get 3 stars, where are you going to fumble?
I know one.
Okay.
Turning to the client and asking them, so what do you think you want to pay? What do you think we should do?
Oh, making an offer without information.
Mm-hmm.
Now, to give the contrast there, when you're helping a client prep an offer, what does that process look like?
Well, we let them know that they can head home. We're going to get started on the research. We're going to do everything like pull title, talk to the agent, look at comparables, and also stuff that's sold recently nearby. And then we're going to bring them a number that we would consider a safe to purchase number. And we're gonna develop our negotiation strategy from there. So it's like reverse engineering, telling them where the market should be for this house. And we will let them know if like, hey, if this is opening weekend, we should give them all the money or more. If it's in multiples, if it's been sitting around for a while, we're probably going to be look to be a little bit more aggressive, but we're going to know that ahead of time. And so we're not just going to go in blind or ask our clients. The clients are relying on us to help them make these decisions, and we're just going to help them get there. So finding the win.
Yeah, because you're saying that it's a moving mark. What I heard you mention was that it might be new to the market and you might pay all the money or more. I'm going to change that over to Doro because we're seeing some multiple offers. Doro, you've actually had some pretty great multiple offers experience. You've had multiple offers on the seller side, on the purchase side. It's almost like you don't like to be alone.
No, I don't like to be alone. That's true.
But so recently you were approaching a property on the market and based on the price of the property, it was interesting to hear your advice to your client, because sometimes these properties aren't priced, like most of the time when a property is priced poorly, it's priced over, right? Like we'll see a property priced at $450 that should be $425.
Yes.
But in this case, you saw a property at $450, you got there right away. Was this like 3, 4, or 5 days on the market?
Oh, no, that was day 0.
So all of a sudden you're in the mix. And if you weren't, so how many other offers were there?
6.
So you wouldn't have been there at all.
Nope.
Why were there so many offers?
Well, the house was priced very good neighborhood in Edmonton. priced at a very low price. It was 350, and and of course, like if a property is priced in a very good neighborhood in Edmonton, then people are flocking to this property.
So you were not the only person out there that knew that there was a good deal to be had?
Absolutely not.
See, I think that that's what a lot of people don't understand is that like there's a bunch of people looking all the time.
Yeah.
If there is something that hits the market hot, it's not like we won't notice. Like, you know, you are looking on your breaks at work. We're here all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, a lot of people would be like, well, I never want to be in a bidding war. Like, you know, why are you ever telling your clients to get into multiple offers? Why was it your advice to go into multiple offers for your client?
Because I was confident that I can do the right market research for them to find out what should you really pay for this property in order to get it. It was obvious
interesting.
that
Because if it was your listing, you probably wouldn't have priced it at 350. Is that right?
Absolutely not.
Because I remember doing this market research with you, and I think that we probably would have brought this property to the market for like 385 maybe.
Correct.
That's interesting. And so not everybody had that information. You were able to go in there, but the money, like really when it comes down to it, the rubber meets the road because there's other checks and balances. Like if you were overpaying for a property, there'd probably be an appraiser to say something about that as well. So I really appreciate you positioning your client to win. I bet you that they're upset. They went through a bidding war. This was horrible.
Absolutely not. It was absolutely stress-free.
That's fantastic. They said, how do we get this house? And you said, I got a plan.
We got a plan and we executed, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was a very strong offer, and my clients left this as the winning party. So yeah, they're getting actually to live in their dream house.
I appreciate that. And I love how you mentioned that they were in a multiple offer scenario and it wasn't even stressful for them. Now, stress-free experience is something that not enough people are talking about. Like, Kim, I know that you and I talk about this all the time because I don't know that there's many other agents that put more thought into how their clients are experiencing the transaction than you do. I think that you've done a really good job, but I imagine that it's concerning for you when you end up talking with buyers that have found a house that aren't yet prepared. That is a tough scenario for anybody. They come to the market, all of a sudden they're standing in the one, and obviously they can just put an offer and the seller will wait for whenever they get this together, right?
No.
How long, like how fast is our market running right now? If you find a property on the market, like how long do you normally have for a seller to say, okay, you have this much time in order to do your home inspection and make sure your financing is approved?
10 days.
Yeah, that's like 10 business days, right? Like 14, 15 days out?
Yeah.
I don't think that we're seeing that as much anymore.
Yeah, no. So when we go out with our buyers, we know that they are completely pre-approved. They have their pre-approval letter ready to go. They know what they're shopping for. There's no hiccups. We go right out. Once we find the one, then they're ready to go. We do our market research, and it takes less than usually a week for everything to get buttoned up. And
so that's when they're all prepped, and that's kind of like what the market's set up for. But I think a lot of people don't know that you wouldn't be able to get that done if you were just starting cold, or at least it would be very difficult to get done. And I wish more people knew that the fastest way to a 3-star experience is to find the house before you actually get prepped.
mm-hmm.
Because in a scenario where you have other buyers that are trying to find that place, like trying to buy that place, the seller may not wait around for you. What are the other things that you guys are seeing that are leading to 3-star experiences? Like how are those people out there not getting a great experience every time?
I would say there's a mistake where people are working with the listing agent directly.
So that's something that we pretty much have as a hard and fast rule here. Like if you represent a seller, if you ever promise somebody you're going to get them all the money, we're not looking for a finish line. We're looking for a win, right? So we're not really comfortable going to a buyer and saying, hey, listen, we're going to get you the best deal on this house. So when HACK&Co teammates are representing your property, you have a dedicated listing agent that's there to help you, give you great advice. We're looking to, we definitely do help buyers out in the marketplace, but a lot of times when people are unprepared, they see that house hit up and they're just going to call that listing agent. Now that listing agent, when they go and meet them, that's probably a different experience than when you're meeting somebody that's looking at that with you or looking at that property with you as a buyer. What do you think that you would want to know that you may not get to know if you were working with somebody who probably had a better experience if you didn't know all the details? Like, I know one of the things that I would want to know is that property's history. Has it been relisted? How long has it actually been on the market?
Or like, what do you think about this? Like actually looking for someone's unbiased opinion, right? That's how we look at properties, is like, we might actually tell them like, hey, this might not be the one for you, especially if we know your situation.
And also it could be that we understand that right now you've only been looking for 2 weeks, and that's below the frequency of when the houses that you really like come to the market. And you might like the next one better than you like this one. I also see some people that are making, like you mentioned earlier, are making offers without really knowing what other properties are selling for. They're just seeing what list prices are. That's a tough one to deal with as well. Is there anything else that you guys feel as though you wish you could save more people from?
I wish I could save people from writing aggressive offers, like just trying to get like a crazy price, crazy good price. And we often talk to them about, if I could help you buy it at that price, I would probably be interested in it too. Right. And so would everybody else.
Yeah.
Or like when you talk to them about like, why would the sellers consider that offer when they're so new to market, especially?
So what you're saying is if you found a property out there for 500,000 and it was on opening weekend, if I just wanted to see if the seller would accept 250,000, like there's no harm in that, right?
Sadly, we do see that from time to time.
And why wouldn't, I think that people don't understand it's a person on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And that person could just say, you will never own this home. Like, you have wasted my time, you've offended me, and I'm never selling you this property. And also the thing that I think they miss is if that property's 500 and you offer 250, wouldn't the seller have so many options before they had to do that? Like, wouldn't they try to change to like 490 and maybe then 480 and then maybe then 470 and 460 and 450? And like, they would have literally 250,000 options before they chose to take that price. So uneducated offers, they actually don't normally hurt sellers. They hurt buyers. And more people should know what it's valued at. But alternatively, what happens when that house is brand new to the market and it's overpriced? In that case, you may need to make an aggressive offer. Like, what are people, I know what's normal in the marketplace is a 3% dip. Like at average days on market, right now in the greater Edmonton area, based on the statistics that I've looked at within the last week, average list to sale in many places is about 97%. So if a property's cruising around that $400,000 mark, you're going to see about $12,000. The most common negotiation technique is for a buyer to ask for twice as much as what they want and then fight for the middle. So you're going to see them come in at, if it's 400, they're coming in at 375, and they're kind of in their mind thinking, you know what, if I can get this under 390, I'm winning. And if I, under 385, I'm really excited. But we see those patterns over and over again. So we often don't use those patterns. We know, we are not the uninitiated. And I think that when people see what our negotiation setups would be like, they don't look like what it would look if you were offering on a car, unless maybe you had somebody who sold hundreds of cars standing next to you, right? Like maybe you got a cousin who's really good at that. Is there anything else that you'd like to warn people about to make sure that they don't end up with a 3-star experience?
Emotional buying would be one of them too.
It's easy to fall in love, right?
It is very easy to fall in love.
You know what really I'm not sure what gets people more, but it's either got to be kitchens or en-suites. Right? Yeah. Kitchens or en-suites are the culprit. Maybe that's like one of those people that doesn't treat you very well but can dance.
Yeah, we see a lot of people.
It's a bad match.
They make decisions based on the condition of the home, but are like, hey, I could see why you would like this place, but it's not even in your kid's school district, or it only has one bedroom on the main floor. Are you okay with your young kids being in the basement? Right.
So those are the things that a lot of people don't ask when they're looking at pictures. And you can probably change the condition through renovation, but I don't know many people that are moving houses these days. Like, shouldn't it be location first? And I don't know many people that are making houses bigger either. So maybe characteristic should be the second place. And condition, well, geez, you can kind of make it whatever you want. The only thing I wouldn't recommend is buying a house that's like too new to be renovated and then renovating it. That's a good way to lose your money too. If it's got a kitchen that's like less than 10 years old and you're like, I want a different kitchen. I don't think that kitchen's done yet. Like it's still serving its time and kind of working its economic value down. So pulling out materials that have value is a big way to leave with a 3-star experience too. Well, thanks for talking us through it. And thanks for helping people understand a little bit about this part of our business, because not a lot of people out there are shopping like pro. A lot of those people out there are going to end up with experience that they wouldn't describe to their friends as 5 stars. And right now on your screen, you are seeing the highest rated and reviewed real estate team in the greater Edmonton area on rankmyagent.com. And there's this many of us because we're this available. Like, if you are looking to enter the market this weekend, it looks like we could easily help you be introduced to some trusted experts, and then also make some informed decisions before you go out shopping. And I really appreciate you guys being part of that. We are going to let you guys out of the room and let Edgar into the room, because we are moving in to talk a little bit more about home inspections. So thanks so much, Tony.
Yeah,
And
I'm moving
if
everybody
getting all
over.
my program set up. There he is. Mr. Edgar Castillo, how are you doing?
Hey, Taylor.
I really appreciate you joining us tonight. A lot of people wouldn't know this, but I've only been in 1 or 2 inspections with you. Okay, maybe it's more than that. Maybe it's more. 1 or 200. I think that we have probably done in excess of 250 home inspections together.
That sounds about right.
So I really appreciate you coming in here, because you give so many of the people that we work with confidence, and we really appreciate that. We are here with Edgar Castillo. He is with Canadian Residential Home Inspection Services. You can get all of his contact information on our trusted expert list. And I thank you so much for helping so many of our clients avoid a heartache in home inspections, because honestly, you help people dodge bullets.
Yeah, well, it's my pleasure to do so, and that's what I do, and that's what I love to do.
Yeah, I remember, and I hope you don't mind sharing a little bit of your story, but before you were a home inspector, you were a property investor.
Yeah, I have property that I invested in way back in 2006. So I still have my properties, and I still maintain them, but about 10 years ago, I stopped investing in properties because I just had a handful of my share of of heartaches and whatnot, and owning properties. But in any case, they're still there, and yeah, it's great investment for me.
I like the idea that you basically got into this because you understood what home ownership was, and you understood that the people around you normally didn't understand what those maintenance cycles were, and to kind of help people get a better picture of what they're looking at. Now, let's dig into home inspections here, because normally you are introduced to people once they've already kind of chosen their property. Right. Often it's somebody around like us that introduced them to trusted experts. They take a look at your, even at your bio, like how many home inspections is it now?
I'm pretty close to 9,000 since 2004. Okay,
so there is, I don't know if there's anything you haven't seen.
I'm pretty much safe to say I've seen them all.
Man, that's incredible. And we're in a lot of those scenarios with you. And I always like the way that you explain it to clients, helping them understand if they're running into trouble, what that looks like. But why don't you walk us through? So when you're doing a home inspection, you obviously walk around the property, but is it like everything that you check?
Well, we have a system, and I generally go off of a checklist in our own system. So we have a special process, or at least I have my own process that I follow. But there are certain things that, depending on the year of the home, where it's located, I look for certain things. But I think the best way to explain to people, to avoid your segment here, to avoid heartache at a home inspection, is to actually give them a little bit more preparedness in knowledge of what we can say is the most common problems that we look for in a home inspection. So if you want, I can go through a list. I have a top 10 list of what I have.
Okay,
Yeah.
Edgar's top 10 list. Let's start.
Yeah.
Should we do the thing
right.
like Letterman used to do?
So you bet.
Number
Well,
10.
I mean, yeah. Well, we'll start off with a poorly maintained home. So right away, first impressions is everything. You go into a home, if it's not well maintained, you can expect problems. So obviously, broken appliances, burnt out light bulbs. If the place is in a mess, you can generally expect that there will be issues, because if it wasn't well maintained by the current owner, chances are you're going to see a few failures. Granted, most of the deficiencies that I find are minor when it comes to unkept homes, but in any case, that generally gives the first impression in the home. Number 9 on my list is I would say structural issues. Like, for instance, if the floor joists are not aligned properly, rafters, door headers have cracks in them, stress cracks on walls and ceilings, deflection in ceilings as well. Sometimes older homes, what people tend to do is they like opening up things, and they blow away a structural wall without knowing that it is structural. And that's a common issue too. So we look for things like that to make sure that there wasn't anything structurally deficient in a home that the homeowner did unknowingly. Number 8 on my list would be electrical. So as far as electrical goes, we check for things like ground fault protection outside, near water sources, and also anywhere where there could be loose wiring and whatnot. Now, with respect to electrical problems that we encounter, for the most part, in older homes that were built in 1965 to about 1973, chances are you will have aluminum wiring in there. Now, aluminum wiring is something that is frowned upon by insurance companies. So just a heads up, if you are looking at a home that was built in that era, chances are you may have aluminum wiring, and you may get into a snag with the insurance companies. So as far as that goes, there isn't really much you can do with a home other than, get in a master electrician and check connections, because what they would want to see is to get a safety inspection done, and that should satisfy the insurance companies.
I like how there's a few things that I've seen with you, actually, when we're talking about structural issues. I remember taking a look at a property that was a renovation, and you getting out your tape and saying, okay, see how this length is over, what was it, 10.5 feet? And then there was no structure in there. And then in addition, you were pointing out that in that specific example, they were claiming that they had a beam, and you were saying, see how the electrical goes through that beam with these pendant lights? That's not so much a beam.
Exactly. So, I mean, those
taking a look at the aluminum side, we often do see, like, there's a huge amount of properties that fit the age range for aluminum wiring in the greater Edmonton area.
Yeah, exactly.
And often now insurance companies are going to be talking mostly about whether or not that has been pigtailed, like checking those connections and having some come through. And I think it's great to know that on the home inspection, because that's where that conversation starts. Like, they've often only been in that house for 20 minutes to an hour at the point that they're making that call. And then it's their inspector that's bringing up the fact that the house that they've fallen in love with has what they see as being a terminal defect. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So I like how you talk about it and say, you know
Yeah.
what, or the insurance company is going to have some extra questions in this.
Yeah, most certainly.
And you have a lot of understanding of electrical.
Yeah, well, it helps. I am an electrical engineer, so I do have some experience in that respect. So I pay more particular attention to my field of expertise, so to speak. But I'm always one for safety and making sure that if you are buying a home, that things are going to be safe for you to live in, and making sure that down the road you're not going to encounter any major issues with liability and the electrical. Yeah.
I appreciate that you do that.
Yeah.
What else is on your list for those things?
All right. Well, going down the furnace, actually. So with heating systems, now you can expect the general life of a furnace usually in the neighborhood of about 20 to 25 years. So if you're going into a home and knowing that the furnace has already reached or past its life expectancy, then you can rest assured that you're probably looking at a new furnace. And these furnaces are most likely mid-efficiency, and the government has a program that is trying to get rid of all these carbon emitting appliances now. So you may actually qualify for an energy rebate if you are thinking of replacing that furnace. So it's worthwhile to look into. Sometimes we get furnaces that have been around for like 30, 40 years and they're still kicking around, but I don't suggest that you keep those because for one, we don't know what the heat exchanger looks like, and that's a dangerous situation because it could generate carbon monoxide, and it could also have exhaust gases from the furnace and the heat exchanger mixing in with heat inside your home. So that's an unsafe situation to be in. So altogether, if I were to look at a furnace that's past 25 to 30 years old, I will suggest that you should replace it. So
I appreciate that because I remember seeing a furnace from like 50 years ago.
Right.
And you were looking at the vent and you're saying, I don't see any plugs.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
So in that case, that means it has never been maintained. The ducts have never ever been cleaned. In most cases, if it had been cleaned, usually the furnace cleaning companies would place their stickers on there. So if you don't see a sticker, the chances are it has never been cleaned, and you can tell by opening up the cabinet yourself and seeing how dusty the cabinet looks inside. Also, what's also important is with furnaces now, sometimes there are newer furnaces that I take a look at. It's also important that these newer furnaces, let's say within the last 10 years, has been inspected by code from the city of Edmonton. Or wherever municipality it was installed in. So it's very important because once again, it could be a liability issue if it wasn't installed properly, that if there was a liability that was caused by the installation of the furnace, insurance companies aren't going to pay out because that's the first thing they're going to check if it was installed to code. So very important to know.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. And I like how you're able to answer like 2 or 3 questions. I always find that that's the best part of the home inspection when everybody's standing around the kitchen table, kind of discussing these different elements, because I think that the thing that people look past, they know that you're there to protect them of problems, but the report that you give them is almost like the owner's manual of an existing home, like the state of the union in this place.
Yeah, well, it's important to know what you're buying, and it's important to know how things work. So I would say that if you know nothing about a home, that's where I try to do my best to educate you in terms of maintenance as well as how everything works inside the home as well, right? So, okay, well, I'll continue on here.
Keep going.
My list. Yeah, so I think the next thing on my list would be hidden mold or bacterial growth. Now, it's important that mold exists because of improper ventilation or because of a leak. Sometimes we can't see it. Sometimes I do see visible mold. It's obvious to see, but sometimes if I see water stains, it could be hidden within a wall, or you'd have to rip out something in order to access and actually see visible mold. But if you smell mustiness, dangerous situation to be in. We don't like to see mold. We don't like to see any water issues in a home because that has health implications. But for the most part, we use an infrared camera. I personally cannot do an inspection unless I go through the home with an infrared thermal image and everywhere where I can potentially detect where I think water could be present. So if I find any signature of any water stain, I'm on top of it, and I'll write down to make sure that further investigation is warranted, because obviously we can't rip out walls and ceilings. But for me, that's important, if it's a health implication here.
Well, that's one of the things that I didn't really know before I had attended as many home inspections as I did, is like, one of the very first things that you're doing once you kind of get to the inside of a house is you turn every single tap on you can find.
You bet. Yeah. And
that gets that water flowing. And then where the rubber meets the road there is that later, so you've filled all these water systems, you've kind of done your initial check, and then you've given time for these water systems to move through, and you pull out your infrared camera. And I remember standing like beside you, and we're looking at a wall, and you're saying, okay, see where all of this stuff is straight? Like you can hang pictures with that infrared. And then what you're looking for is things don't look like regular construction, like water doesn't have square edges.
Exactly. Exactly. So, I mean, the infrared camera that I use has paid for itself in spades. It's quite an expensive
and it was a cheap one, right?
Well, if you call $10,000 plus cheap, that's fine by me. But
well, I always laugh because like you can get an infrared camera for like $300 at Canadian Tire, but really, there's like ratings to these.
Yeah, it's important to have. I use the best piece of equipment that I can use, because if you're not accurate, your reporting won't be accurate. So that's how I figure out in terms of the equipment that I use. I have nothing but the best in the industry. So,
and I wouldn't have confidence any other way. And it's because that's the experience. Like, I remember the first time that we were in a basement where there was in-floor heating. And you showed me where it is. Like a lot of people think it must be everywhere, but when you're heating those big concrete slabs, it runs in these like channels, right?
Yeah.
And that was something that was really neat. But sorry for hijacking your list.
No worries.
Working your way through.
You bet. So anyway, let's go on to the next on my list. Is now this is a very big issue that came up in the last couple of days, and that's to do with insufficient insulation and ventilation. I can count the number of homes on my hands, and it's probably about 8 homes that I did in the last 10 days that had attic rain. And let me explain to you what happened. Because of all the cold weather that we've experienced in the last couple of days, the minus 25, minus 30 degree weather, a lot of heat was being lost inside the attic. And I'm talking about almost new homes within 5 to 10 years. What's been happening is that heat was escaping through into the attic, and it was condensing with the cold air from the outside and creating frost underneath the roof sheathing. And I've seen anywhere from about 1 inch thick to about 4 inches thick of frost. Now, in the last couple of days when it got warm, I have opened attic hatches where it was almost literally raining, melting snow and onto the ceiling. And that's where a lot of problems had occurred. Now, it's due to improper ventilation mostly. So I think that in a lot of newer homes, I think that the builders should pay more attention to the ventilation, because I've been seeing a lot of attic rain lately, and that's not good for a home, because when we get these cold spells and a day or two later, when it goes into the plus degrees, it's going to melt, and you'll see water come through your ceiling, through light fixtures and whatnot. So those are things to watch for. Also, what has come up too is one area of heat loss is your attic hatch. I've seen a lot of cases. In fact, I would say 90 to 95% of the homes that I inspect, I always record that the attic hatch is not properly insulated or sealed into place. So that's an area, it's like having an open door where the heat's going to be lost. And that's where all the heat is getting lost inside the attic as well. So very, very important to, to keep an eye on heat loss in through your attic.
Man, that's things that it's always incredible to hear that, because people don't understand all the elements that could even be going on in their own home while they're there.
Yeah,
You know, like you
exactly.
might see moisture around a light fixture now and again.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be evidence that it was just the environment outside that was making enough of a shift for it to rain inside of your attic, which sounds terrifying.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, not a good situation to be in, especially in a brand new home. So yeah, and one of the homes that I inspected was in the Windermere area, a brand new home, never been lived in, and the builder was there. I showed him the problem, and he couldn't believe it. So anyway, he was on top of it. So those are the things that have come up in the last couple of days. Continue on, let's move on to plumbing. Now, as far as plumbing concerned, I can talk for hours on plumbing, but the most issues that I come up with is hot water heaters. Now, the age of a hot water heater, the expected life of a hot water heater typically is about 8 to 12 years. If I come into a home and I see a hot water heater that is well past its service life, I cannot guarantee, or nobody can guarantee, how long it's going to last, although it could be in working condition at the time I do my inspection. You can probably plan on having it fail in the next couple of days, years, who knows, but expect to have a new hot water tank in the future, near future at least, anyway. Also, I catch sometimes a lot of leaking pipes in the older pipes. Sometimes the compression ring where the P-trap is connected to the tailpiece underneath the sink is cross-threaded. I catch a lot of leaks in that area. Now, let me talk about another thing that has come up recently is the type of material that's being used in older homes. Now, poly B, which is polybutylene piping, its characteristic color is gray. So if you're in a home that was built in the, I would say 70s to up until actually 2005, it was used. And it was stopped as a building standard for using in homes in 2005. Once again, insurance companies do not like poly B. I had a client a couple of days ago. He was interested in purchasing a home, and he called me up saying that, what do you think of poly B? I have no problems with poly B. I have poly B in my own home, but it's the insurance companies that have a problem with it. There were lawsuits back in late 90s, early 2000s, because poly B was rupturing. And the reason why they were rupturing is because they were using poly B fitting or plastic fittings with a piping. Here in Alberta, we're not seeing a lot of that. We were smart enough to use metal fittings, like copper fittings. So we're not seeing a lot of it, but insurance companies don't understand that. And the reason why they were rupturing with plastic fittings was because a lot of the people were turning up their hot water heaters to extremely high temperatures, and that's where it was breaking down. So I would say that if you do have poly B, you may run into insurance snags, and just be aware that you may have to talk to a lot of insurance companies that are willing to insure you for a home with Poly B.
Yeah, we actually spoke to a plumber about that the other day. There are plumbers that will go out and take a look at these things just to kind of see if it's degrading. But you know, the nature of that material is it doesn't give a lot of indicators. So helping people approach those and helping them have the right conversations is awesome. Well, I really appreciate you coming by and talking to us a little bit about some of the things that are catching your eye right now, some of the things that are the latest and greatest in home inspections. I know that everybody can find you because they can easily find you as a trusted expert on our trusted expert list. You're definitely somebody that we use, my own family has used, and we're looking forward to maintaining that great relationship for the next, few hundred home inspections.
I apprate that.
And thank you so much for your contest tonight. Edgar has given away the universal gift certificate of cash. It is accepted in your bank account and then can be tapped as you please. So thank you so much for coming by, Edgar. We really appreciate you, and I'm sure that we're going to see you soon.
Certainly a pleasure. Yeah. All right.
Well, thank you everybody for watching. This is Buying Real Estate Since 2021. That was Edgar Castillo with Canadian Residential Home Inspectors. He's been helping people avoid those challenges that come with home inspections that don't turn out right. Because a lot of people, they don't even know what they have. They're selling a house that they have not had inspected recently, and that status could have changed. And next up, we are going to invite in an expert that is going to talk to us a little bit about further protecting that asset. Here with me now is Michelle. Michelle, you are you're with InsurLine Brokers, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Thank you so much for coming by and seeing us tonight. We really appreciate you talking a little bit about how people are going about this, because we were just talking to a home inspector, and there's a lot to consider when it comes to home insurance. You know, you guys have a lot of questions about the properties that we're taking a look. What is on the what's on the forefront of your mind when you're talking to somebody who says, hey, I just put in an offer and it got accepted?
It's funny that you asked it, because I have a sheet here with all of the different questions that I ask, and having, a good relationship with different realtors, home inspectors really helps my job, because then they're able to send me over the listing sheet. Sometimes, they'll even send over a copy of the inspection. And so that way I'm able to answer all of the questions about the home. Because even though, you might buy a house for, $350,000, when we do our evaluator, that number is usually different because it's based on the replacement cost of the home versus the market value. And so that's where we need to make sure, how many bathrooms do you have? How many bedrooms? How many, if you're on an acreage, how many acres? Do you have a 1-car, 2-car, attached, detached? Do you have any upgrades? So like, do you have, laminate countertops versus quartz countertops? Do you have soaker tubs, regular tubs? Like, it's just, because we all know houses are not the same and they all have different finishings. So it's a matter of asking the right questions to make sure that, we get that, covered in the insurance.
I appreciate that. In fact, actually, we like to be as proactive as possible. So that sheet that you showed is something that we have already had sent to us. So we know exactly what Michelle is looking for in advance. We've turned it into a handy little type form that we go through during our home inspections so that we can save everybody a next step. Because what we used to see is people would go through their home inspection. They'd be like, okay, we want to buy it now. And then you're the next stop, and then you're like, hey, we have this sheet of information that we need. And then they come back to us and they're like, so how do we get into that house again?
And that's the thing, especially when people are buying, they may not, remember, or, if they've seen so many different houses, they're getting houses mixed up. And so that's where, when someone comes to me and says, I've just bought a house, I'm like, who's your realtor? If they haven't told me. And then I'm like, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to give them a call, get them to send me over the listing sheet. And then that way I just need your personal information, and the rest of it, I can usually get off of, the MLS sheet that you guys provide. It usually has a really good description of the home and, all the measurements and this and that and whatever. So Yeah, and in the event that, we don't have that, it's asking a lot of questions.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that most people don't realize when they're taking a look at endeavoring in real estate, because surprisingly enough, when you survey people, there's 3 of the worst things that could happen to them. They could find out that they're dying, they could find out that they've lost their job, or they could find out that they're about to move. And really, when you take a look at what people do as far as these big ventures, moving is a milestone. It's
Oh,
not
yes.
just changing a place or changing, location. It's changing a life. So when you're helping people protect those assets, when they're coming to talk to you with those initial discussions, I imagine you just say, like, go for the cheapest stuff out there. It's really all the same.
Absolutely. No, never.
Okay, it's my first day as a mortgage broker apprentice. You're gonna have to, or sorry, as an insurance broker apprentice. I don't even know what the title is. So these products are all different. And how many products do you have access to?
So we represent 4 different companies in our office. And usually, auto insurance is auto insurance. It's legislated. Home insurance is not legislated. And so that's where you have to be really careful to make sure that, when you are comparing, what is your house value? What is
Technical
the amount that they're
difficulty.
going
Oh,
to give you
sorry,
in the event
Michelle.
you rebuild?
I think we just got cut off there for a quick second.
Oh, there
Can
we go.
you-
Yeah, there we
Can
go.
we
Sorry.
dial it back 15 seconds?
You betcha. Rewind. So the big thing is making sure that you're comparing apples to apples. And so, not all home policies are the same. And so you want to make sure that you have coverage if you have to move out of your home, due to a fire or, a sewer backup claim. You want to make sure that you have sewer backup coverage. You want to make sure you have flood coverage, bylaws. I make sure that my clients have fire department coverage. And so it's just the little extra things that you want to make sure that when you are looking at, different quotes, you don't just look at that dollar, because that dollar may not include sewer backup, or it might only be $25,000. We see a lot of that. And it's because it's based on your postal code. So it's a matter of, okay, let's go to the next company. Are they offering full sewer backup? What is this going to cost you? And making sure, if you don't have a finished basement, might not be a big deal. But if you want a finished basement with bedrooms and a theater and this and that and whatever, you're going to want that coverage. And so it's just being upfront, communicating and letting them know that this is what I'm offering, this is what it's going to cost you, and just kind of going from there.
Well, I appreciate you making sure that it's a good fit, but also, I think that there's a lot of people under the impression that it's all the same. That, you're talking about some pretty detailed stuff about who has sewer backup.
Yeah.
So finding the best coverage that's available in that specific location, this seems a lot different than buying a car and getting a car insured.
It is, absolutely. Car insurance is regulated by the government. So regardless of where you go, the policy is the same. The pricing might be a little different depending on what is inputted into the system. But with home insurance, each company is different. And so you want to make sure that, and that's where working with a broker, it doesn't have to be me, but that's where working with a broker comes into play, because they represent multiple companies. So if we have one company that is only going to offer $25,000 of sewer backup, then you go to company B where it might be $300 more, but you're getting full limits on sewer backup. To me, that's a no-brainer. That's the coverage you want. And so it's a matter of looking through everything and not just looking at the bottom line.
I think that that's a very good point, because there's, it's not like golf. It's not just the lowest score wins. These are product to product. Now, what do you wish that more homeowners or more people that were about to enter the market in 2021 would know? If you could just give a message like they were all your cousin, what would you want them to know?
Before you sign on the dotted line, talk to your insurance person, get a quote. It doesn't cost you anything, because you could end up being on an acreage, for example, you're outside that 13-kilometer limit where you're considered unprotected. Your insurance is through the roof. I've actually had clients who have walked away because their insurance was more than their mortgage, like on a monthly payment basis. So get a quote. It doesn't hurt anything. If you have to, put it as a condition. But really, a quote should only take a day. And you'll be able to have a good idea as to how to budget that in, because it can be anywhere from $800 to $5,000, right? It just depends on the home, the postal code, credit rating, and all of that other.
Well, I appreciate you breaking that down. That's something that I definitely didn't understand with, getting the right fit. I know that insurance companies' appetites change. So some people are actually seeing their rates go up, even though they haven't done anything. And those would also be people I would hope would reach out to you, because it could be that insurance company is saying that what's going on with COVID, we've decided that we're just going to focus here. And if you don't fit that cookie cutter, then we're just going to raise rates until you go somewhere else.
Absolutely, definitely. And I'm really seeing a lot of increases, especially since January, where people are like, I've never had a claim. I don't know what's going on. Why is my insurance going up? And so I find insurance is one of those products where you set it and forget it. And you just hope that you have the coverage that you need. And like I said, it's a little bit of work. It's a little bit of time, but it might be worth your while to, make that phone call. I know for myself, I, do text, email, phone calls. I work outside the 9 to 5. So if you're at a job where you have a boss looking over your shoulder or you're super busy, call me at 7 o'clock. We'll talk, right? Like that is the one thing that I do a little bit differently, just to make sure that you're not one of the ones that, thinks you have sewer backup and you don't.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming by and sharing with us. This is Michelle Martin. She's from InsurLine ClearCut Insurance. Her contact information is easily available because she is one of our valued, trusted experts. We appreciate that she looks out for our buyers entering the market. And if you're entering the market in 2021, you definitely want to have those conversations with Michelle. She might even be a good call to make ahead of time before you shop, because it could be that some of your choices are different when you know how they're going to be insured.
Definitely. Thank you so much for having me on, Taylor. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure. And looking forward to chatting with you again soon. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. For anybody who is in the Facebook in our event who hasn't gone down and entered their names in any of the prizes, that's something that you definitely want to do. If you're joining us right now in the Facebook event, you can scroll down and see a whole bunch of great prizes from all of our guests tonight. I know that Annie Lee was giving away some fuel from Petro. That's fantastic. I also know that there's like a Google Home and some AirPods in there. We're really excited to give away one of these fancy Ember mugs. This has been keeping my coffee warm all night. And that's something that I also appreciate for anybody who has been here as long as I have. I think I'm bordering on 2 hours now, and we are not quite finished because we have some more trusted experts to introduce you to, including Christina Henriques. So Christina and I have known each other for quite some time. In fact, I actually went to high school with her, local in Sherwood Park here. How you doing, Christina?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm actually super stoked that you came to join us tonight. I always really like your perspective. I was just talking to some clients and they were saying how helpful you were even before their purchase.
Oh, that's always good to hear. That's what I try to do, help people as much as I can.
Well, we find that, when it comes down to great possessions, they normally start with great prevention. So I wish more people would be calling you as they're making these decisions. Maybe they would be like us. I know that when we have questions, it's just so much easier to coordinate with the person that's going to be making it all land at the end. And that's really how I feel about the lawyer process to real estate, is that we are kind of like setting it afloat, and then you're the one that makes sure it lands.
Exactly.
So in talking a little bit through our experience tonight, we are saying how buyers are entering the marketplace. And in many cases, they're worried about two things. They're worried about missing the one. They're worried about paying too much. Then they go through the process and they meet all of these incredible characters. They're talking to realtors. They're getting their mortgage all set up. They're getting insured. Somebody's talking about term insurance versus life insurance. We've been action packing tonight with all the people that you could see, but I don't know that there's a single person that's more important to this process than you. And you're like the unsung hero. You're at the end, you're sweeping up after us, and we really appreciate that. What do you wish more people knew at the beginning of their purchase?
Oh, okay. I think I wish more people knew to call and ask questions before they agree to anything, because it will save them a lot of money in the long run. So as you know, I always offer a free half hour to everybody if you retain me or not. So I'm always happy to help people, even if they don't choose me, get the right information before they sign the contract and it's binding. Because as you know, once it's signed off on, there's not much I can do to fix it. So that would be kind of the big thing that I would wish people would do, is call and ask questions, because it might be a really easy thing to add into the contract to protect you, where after the fact, my hands are tied.
See, my questions always to you are, how are we adding to this contract? How are
Yeah.
we adding this to the contract? Is there a way that we can set this up that's actually going to pave the way? Because I think the biggest thing that we're all trying to avoid is disputes, right?
Exactly.
And some of the language that we're putting in, I really like to run it past a lawyer because I'm not one.
No, well, that's fair enough, right? I'm not a realtor, so you know way more about that than I do.
Yeah, I can definitely help you get a great deal. But when it comes down to it, we've seen some interesting things. I know that we're really proactive when we're writing offers about talking to the listing agent about what they need to disclose.
Exactly.
So at the time that we're deciding how much somebody's going to pay, we want to know, do you have anything disclosed that's going to be outside of the regular purchase agreement we're going to have to adjust to? But one of our big conversations is also with RPRs.
Yes, that's kind of, I would say the number one question I get is about an RPR, because that and title insurance, because they do go hand in hand, and a lot of people are unsure kind of what the purpose of title insurance is and how an RPR protects you.
Well, I think that we can break it down here. So first off, a RPR, as we're describing it, and as I'm explaining it, you can correct me here because I think you'll need to, but it's a real property report, and it looks like a drawing drawn by someone who can only draw stickmen.
Correct.
But it is actually a survey that's completed using the surveyor's handbook. So you know that somebody who's trained in measurement has gone out there and made an official measurement of the property. So we know what's there, but they're often talking about improvements. What do you see as being an improvement?
The most common improvements would be hot tubs, decks, large sheds are considered an improvement because they usually aren't movable. Movable sheds don't fall into the RPRs generally. Gazebos, pergolas, those are kind of the big ones that we see most of the time.
Yeah, and we've seen a whole bunch of these things come as a variety of different ways. Like, some of these pergolas are done with all the permits and so on. Some of these are done without those types of protections. And often what we're trying to do is find out ahead of us making an agreement, because a lot of people may not understand, but it's not like one person sat down and wrote the purchase agreement for real estate.
Exactly.
Like it's hundreds and hundreds.
Yep.
So to explain further, the purchase agreement in residential real estate is a living document.
Correct.
Normally, when they make changes to it, they joke about how those changes are written in blood because somebody got hurt. So there was some reason that they changed that purchase agreement, right? And it was normally based on going to court. And you're like one of my favorite lawyers to talk about this, because there's a whole bunch of lawyers that practice real estate that'll never go to a courtroom.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And you are a legit litigator. In fact, possibly one of the scariest people I know that wears alligator shoes.
Well, my kids certainly agree with that. They can't sneak anything by me these days.
I could only bet. So when we're talking about somebody lining up one of these real property reports, making sure that all the improvements are on the land, the county gives it compliance if you're in Sherwood Park. If you're in the city, then it's the city of Edmonton that's giving compliance. But
Correct.
That's where we normally start to see some variances, because I know in the residential contract, you can get compliant, non-compliant, or non-conforming.
Correct.
But what are the things that you consider the biggest messes? Like where do you think that more people could get towards a 5-star experience by noting on the way in? I know we're always making notes like, oh, there's a pergola here, or like you were mentioning, I think hot tubs are looked past.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go on the hot tub note. I will say the big one will be if someone builds a hot tub within their deck, that usually needs an engineering report. And a lot of people don't get that done before they apply for a permit in the county to put their hot tub in. So that can be a big one that would cost a seller if they haven't had it properly permitted. If you were a buyer, I would always want to look, if you're looking at a corner lot, that's a big one, because a lot of people don't realize when they're building their structures that full corner is not their property, and a good chunk of it is actually the municipality's property. So you run into a lot of issues with fences being not within your own property. And depending on the municipality, the county is not too bad. The city of Edmonton's fairly punitive on costs for encroachment agreements. If it's on the city property, it could potentially also be on considered the roadway, which is even more expensive to get permitted. So those would be kind of the ones that I would think are the most costly to fix.
I would agree, because like we see sometimes where it's like a little encroachment and then they have like an algorithm that they use and it's going to cost like X amount of dollars. But then once it gets from like, it could be literally inches different, but it goes from one policy to the other. And then all of a sudden these numbers, like they add extra digits.
Also, depending on the municipality, Fort Saskatchewan does this quite a bit. You would actually, if you had an encroachment on City of Fort Saskatchewan property, they will also require you to list them on your insurance policy and have different policy factors that could increase your homeowner's insurance as well.
Wow. The biggest actually concern that I had recently remember is somebody had actually put a basketball net in the first few feet of their driveway.
Yeah, which is a utility right of way. In most areas of Sherwood Park, most newer areas, utility right of way is in the front of your house. A lot of older neighborhoods, Glen Allen especially, utility right of ways in most of Glen Allen is along the back of the fence line at the back of your property. So yes, that's a big one if you're on a utility right of way as well.
I really appreciate you clearing that up. The other thing that, so once someone finds the property that they want to buy, often when we're representing buyers, we're not there when they're listing the property or having those initial discussions. So we do come across the situations where nobody's talked about a real property report.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And now we're standing with a client who really wants that house and they're really concerned about it doing that safely. They can't control all the decisions that the home seller has made.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves us in this place where all of a sudden we're opening the discussion around title insurance.
Yes.
Can you give us a quick synopsis of, real property report versus title insurance?
Okay. Yep. Absolutely. So it depends who I'm acting for. But if I'm acting for a buyer, I always encourage them the two different sides, right? If I'm acting for a buyer, I always encourage them to get a real property report with compliance because the number one factor is it's reusable and title insurance is not. So let's say you buy a home, you love it, you accept title insurance, and then you go to sell it down the road and the person that maybe you're selling in a buyer's market and they're insistent on a real property report and compliance. And now you have to eat those costs to fix all of those defects that you weren't aware about because you accepted title insurance. So if I'm acting for a buyer, I always try to ask them, if they haven't signed the contract, to insist on a real property report and compliance, because then it's the seller's responsibility to fix any defects. And then that buyer can take that real property report with compliance or any encroachment agreements that the seller has to get for them and reuse it down the road when they want to sell. So it's a good cost savings for them.
I like that. How basically you're saying for sustainability, the RPR is a big advantage. Is there any advantage or disadvantage when it comes to the actual protections between seeing what's there or being insured against what's there?
No, you're completely insured through title insurance as long as the defect is not known at the time that you purchase. So if you have a client who finds this house that they love and there's no issues that are known about and no real property report has even been ordered, that client is perfectly protected if they go ahead and obtain title insurance. And the number one thing with title insurance that I think people forget is, so let's say that same buyer that you had finds this house that they really love, they accepted title insurance and didn't know about any defects. If they find out about defects down the road, they would put in a claim to that title insurance company, and the title insurance company pays the cost of bringing that property back up to compliance. And that would also include things like if a basement was properly or not properly permitted and nobody knew, like there was no electrical permitting. If they find down the road, oh shoot, this basement didn't have electrical, they would contact the title insurance company and the title insurance company would pay that cost.
So I actually have a question coming in from Facebook here. And in a situation where it's like a developer fence, what if a situation had arisen where you bought a property, moved into the property, and then find out that the developer fence is actually on your property?
Well, it's on your property, so it's fine. If it's on your property, there's no compliance issues because it's on your property.
So, but if it's I think that what the question is getting at is if it is on your property, do you have control over that even though the county built it?
On your side of the fence, yes. I mean, the county generally, if it's a developer fence, you generally in some areas are responsible for maintaining it anyways, even if the developer put it in.
That's interesting, because that was actually the question coming towards, is that the developer fence was positioned in such a way that it lost the property size. So it's actually on their property, and they're saying that it doesn't appear that they can do anything about it because the county owns it. And I was just wondering if you had any perspective on that, given that, is it on your property or how does that work?
Like how far into the property is it? Is it like very far in, or is it like a few inches on your property?
Where would the line be?
Well, if it's anywhere touching the other side of the property, then the county can do whatever they want for sure, because it can straddle that line, right?
That's interesting. But
yes.
if it is actually off by a few inches or off by more than a fence post width away, does that change?
You have more control over it because it's fully within your property.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
So then in a situation, if that fence was totally on your property, you would have the choice of taking it down?
Essentially, but the county can always come back and say, well, now you're making the whole street look odd. I mean, the county is difficult to deal with at the best of times. Like I've seen clients who along Granada in Nottingham, the developer put the fence not within everybody's property and on county property, and the county was making people get encroachment agreements because the fence was not in the client's property.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So they definitely have like kind of the be all end all, but there could be some things that could be done here. So as much as we could go deeper into this, I think that maybe it's better that we refer this client to, or this inquiry to come and take a chat with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe take a look at what they have for a real property report and get some information, because it sounds like if that fence was all the way on your property, you might have some options there.
Exactly. And again, I offer a free half hour. So if they want to contact me, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, I appreciate that, because I use that pretty regularly. I have to say that I bother you. I get on your phone. Other teammates are calling you, but we're trained that way. We're trained to call you first, so that everybody ends up knowing that once they meet your offer, once they get to your office, as it was presented to them is how it's going to take place.
Exactly.
Well, I really appreciate you coming by and giving us some clarity about the difference between an RPR and the title insurance, because that's something that comes up pretty regularly. Yeah. And also your perspective on those improvements. I think that will help everybody be a little bit more aware of those things that could be problematic.
Yeah, not a problem.
This is Christina Henriques, and it's from Henriques Law right in Sherwood Park. So if anybody's looking, they can easily find all of Christina's contact information, because we make it handy. She's a trusted expert, and she's on our trusted expert list. And we very much invite people that may have any further questions to give you a call directly. And thank you so much for coming by. And thank you for a great gift. You are putting up a prize, and I believe it is in support of Shop Local, because it's at local. Yes. And that is the pub in Sherwood Park.
Yes, you bet.
Well, thank you so much for that. And I hope that you have an excellent night. Take care, and we'll be talking soon.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. Take care.
Cheers. All right, as we move forward through our buyer experience, now we've got right through to the lawyer meeting. So we see how everything kind of ends in this signing off of, and how Christina helps people with the prevention with prevention, so that they have smooth possessions. And now I would like to bring in somebody that doesn't get enough shine. Like, I really feel as though when you're taking a look at the overall experience, there's so much put on the house. There's so much focus put on the house the whole time. And that's not exactly, that doesn't leave us enough room for one of the biggest days in real estate. Your real estate experience is when you move, right? We have Reilly. Reilly is here from Edgar, Beaver, and thank you so much. We always hear about how you guys are making people's experience great. I'm going to put your logo right up on the screen here. Welcome, Reilly McLaughlin. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, River City Remax.
We appreciate you, and we also appreciate how difficult your job has become. Moving people during COVID is really something else.
Yeah, it's really been a game changer, COVID. At first it was pretty scary, but we were never shut down or anything like that. We're considered an essential service, so we just have to take all the right protocols, follow AHS protocol and stuff like that, and just communicate to the customers that we have their health and our health in their best interest as well.
Well, I appreciate that you're prepared. I know when I walk into a business that's got the proper COVID compliance, that's a well taken care of business. You know, it's being maintained. When you're taking a look at helping people move these days, what are the things that families are forgetting? What are the things that that you wish more people knew when they were engaging this part of their project?
Pretty much just having everything packed up and ready to go, because we do charge hourly, and stuff like that slows stuff down, and we want to make it as affordable as possible for people. So a lot of people, they just think having a lot of loose stuff is okay, which is okay. We'll still move it, and we'll still get it done. It will just take less time, especially if it's a condo move, because there's more trips on the condo. But
oh yeah,
pretty
you
much
guys are going down the elevator one after the other, and if somebody's got a whole bunch of small artifacts that are loose, that's got to create much more work and make way more trips, especially when you're slowed down by an elevator.
It does for sure. But generally people are pretty good like that. People are really well prepared because we provide them with all the information on our website. We have moving tips, and we send them emails prior to the move as well. So generally our people are pretty prepared. So it goes pretty smooth move day in general.
That's a big difference maker, because that's what we find as well. Being the highest rated and reviewed real estate team has a lot of pressure in making sure that you can continue to deliver those experiences.
For sure,
So
we feel
I
that
find
same
that
pressure as
prevention's
well.
a big, yeah, and that's actually why we make such a great alignment. Eager Beaver has been making people happy for a long time now.
Yeah, we've actually been established in Edmonton since 1992. The past 6 years has really expanded. The company was taken over by John Watson, the current owner, from his father. Before it was kind of like a 2-truck operation, and now they've expanded to, I think we have a dozen trucks now in total, and we're probably one of the busiest moving companies in Edmonton locally. We're still family owned and a local company. We just have one office in Edmonton, but we do serve Western Canada. And yeah, we have a 4.9 rating on Google. We have almost 500 reviews on Google now, and our rating on Facebook as well is 4.9 with almost 300 reviews. So we're the highest rated moving company in Alberta.
That is awesome. And that's definitely one of the reasons that we count you as a trusted expert. And we want to make sure that more of our clients have that experience from start to finish, because I think now that there's more uncertainty in this than ever before, like people just have more, it's concerning to have people in your house. It's concerning to have people touch your stuff. So being that you're able to not only accomplish that goal, but do so in a way that people are shouting out about it, that's a major accomplishment.
Yeah, it's been huge for us. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were actually featured on CBC News. They did a special on us, and it actually made the national news as well, called Moving During a Pandemic. So we were one of the first companies to have our certain protocols in place. A lot of companies shut at first, just not knowing stuff like that and uncertainty. But that was huge for us. And yeah, just all the protocols we have just really put us above, and just staying safe and whatnot has really put us above and beyond any other companies. So it's been going well.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, then one, getting a moving company that is tried, true, and trusted is a big part of making sure that you have a 5-star experience. The second is to control those costs by planning a moving day, making sure that those small artifacts are put up, and then also referring to your blog so that they can get more tips. And then what is moving day like? Can you kind of give us a day in the life?
Yeah, I can definitely paint you the picture. I can even paint one from the beginning if you would like.
Sure.
So initially, you could go to our website, fill on our online submission, and the representative would get back to you probably within 24 hours. If you filled all the questions there correctly, we can give you an estimate right off the bat there. Or you can call in and we can give you an estimate on spot and shoot you off an email as well with all the details then. And then once you're booked in, you get a confirmation email and text sent to you to make sure everything's right, and that means you're booked in. And then before the move day, you'll get a couple emails explaining our COVID protocol and some moving tips and stuff like that. 24 hours before the move, you'll get a text reminder and an email just letting you know we haven't forgot about you, because pretty stressful. You always hear those horror stories of people getting forgot about, their movers didn't show up, stuff like that. And then we call you and speak to you in person, because it's always nice to speak to someone in person, and we do our COVID-19 screen 24 hours prior to the move and just confirm everything as well there. And then if you're in the morning move, your bigger move, you're in the morning, which is the 8:30 to 9 arrival. We never like to give like an exact time, because people start freaking out. Oh, if we tell you 8:30, there's traffic, there's trains. So we just give that window frame just so people aren't stressed watching the clock for half an hour, and half an hour seems like 5 hours, right? And then in the afternoon, we have a bit of a bigger, if you're a smaller move, like 1-bedroom condo or just maybe some random stuff getting moved, we have our 12 to 3 arrival time. We call half an hour prior. And then the guys walk in, they introduce themselves, they're masked up right now. We ask you to stay masked up. We ask you to keep as less people as possible at the move, just so we can be distanced. If it's not -30 out, or if it's reasonable temperature, we ask you to have your doors open, windows open, so air circulation, just to be more COVID friendly. No handshakes, obviously. And yeah, so we wash our hands, hand sanitizer. We ask to use your washrooms to periodically wash our hands throughout the day. And we don't take lunch breaks. These crazy ass names. If it's a bigger move, the guys kind of have lunch in the truck on the way over. They might take, a lot of times the customer will make us take a lunch break. They'll say, hey, we bought pizza, or the pizza's not that good right now with COVID, but whatever, they bought Subs or McDonald's or whatever, right? And then yeah, so we do moves in one day. Like even if it's a full 4-bedroom house, we get you moved in one day. So we might have a 4-man crew. Then we just make sure everything's done at the end. Do you want us to maybe move some boxes there? Maybe you don't like the couch in the bonus room that you wanted in the basement. Don't feel bad, ask us. We have no problem moving it around. The guys will be there till the move gets done, even if it's going for some weird reason till like 9 at night, 10 at night. We won't leave. We do not like to do finish moves the next day. I've been here for 2 years, and there hasn't been a time where we've said, hey, we have to come back tomorrow. We get the job done, unless it's something that the customer does want for some reason. We can come back the next day. And then payment we just take after with Visa, MasterCard, or debit. The guys have machines on them. They wipe down the machine, hand it over to you, get the payment. We also don't require a deposit, which is very different from moving companies. So you just pay the day of the move, no deposits required. And there's also no cancellation fees. So if something comes up, no worries, just let us know as soon as you know we cancel you. And there's also no fee if you need to change your date for some reason. We also have storage. I don't think I mentioned that yet, whether it's heated indoor storage. We're gonna have the mobile storage rolling out in spring, similar to pods and big steel box. So if you need storage outside your house in one of those pods, we'll have that available. So we'll pretty much have all the bases covered, as well as packing, which we provide. So we can come in the day before and pack all your stuff in boxes, so you literally don't have to lift a finger.
Wow, that is a full service. And I like what you were saying, where you are dedicated to getting the job done until it's actually done. I imagine that that's concerning for some people out there to think that this is going to be a massive project that's going to take more than one day.
Yes.
And it's interesting to see a company continuing to expand. I always like to hear about success stories where we get second generation entrepreneurs that are taking businesses in new directions and finding new ways, especially when they're local. And now going from 2 trucks all the way up to 12 trucks, like that's a lot more jobs you guys are creating.
It is, yeah. We have about 20 to 30 actual movers / drivers, depending seasonally. Winter's a bit slower, as you can imagine. We have 5 office staff, and we have 2 warehouse staff. So we're almost 35 people, and all Edmontonians.
Wow, that's awesome. I really, I think that that's a huge value, and I couldn't help but wanting to support a company that does that. What do you think that would be something that maybe you might want to express, having your experience? I know that you were saying help people get more prepared. Is there anything else that you'd want to send as a general message to somebody who might be a little bit concerned about their upcoming move?
Yeah, just try not to stress out. For the most part, we're here to help you. You call us anytime, email us anytime you have any questions. No questions, a dumb question. let our expertise, help you out. And yeah, it's for the most part, moving is supposed to be the happy time. Is maybe moving on to a new house, but in other words, it can be a sad time, and we understand that too. And we're there for support. And we also have other people we can refer to you if we can't provide this support to you, like this great company where we work with called Move Coordinators. They're like they're senior specialist moving. So ready for any moving. If you just need support downsizing, you can't handle it, we have people we can send your way that are really trusted partners of ours as well.
Well, I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you so much for all your support. And also, we really appreciate that you gave us a cool Thai gift certificate. Is that a restaurant that you go to regularly?
Yeah, I do actually. My ex-wife and I used to own a location in Chinatown, but now her sister owns it. But yeah,
wow.
I've been going there forever. So my daughter kind of works there, and yeah, so it's a great restaurant there, like one of the top Thai restaurants in Edmonton. So yeah, someone's really gonna enjoy that. They deliver, so they're local.
What is the name? Am I
obviously.
saying it right? Vifale?
Kind of close. It's Vipale.
Vifale.
Vipale, no F.
Vipale.
There you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It sounds like a cool place, and I love Thai food, so I'm going to check that out.
Good.
But I can't wait to see who wins your gift certificate. Thank you so much for the generous donation to our prizes tonight. And thanks for putting everybody's minds at ease when it comes to taking a look at this project for moving. I know you've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times where houses go from being full with 30 years worth of somebody's stuff to all the way empty, but they can't necessarily see that from where they are.
It's hard to imagine sometimes, yeah.
Well, this is Reilly McLaughlin with Edgar Beaver Moving, one of the highest rated moving company in the greater Edmonton area, and they can serve all the way through Western Canada. They are one of our trusted experts, so you can find us on our trusted expert list, and I'm sure that I will be seeing you soon. Thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.
You as well. Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, well, let's get some teammates back in here and close this up.
That was fun.
Hey, you know what? It only took us the entire virtual event to be able to get in and out of here. So I really appreciate that because we're always playing with the technology and it changes every time. Like it almost seems like every time I go to do a Facebook Live, Zoom's like, oh yeah, and there's this one thing that we put in the very back of our system that you need to click before you can actually go on here. So we really appreciate anybody bearing with us as we had some technical difficulties tonight. But I think that we were able to bring the people in to really demonstrate this process from start to finish, because even though everything changed after 2020, some things didn't change. Some of the things that we find most important, which is how these people that are moving experience that milestone, that hasn't changed. Talk to people like Reilly McLaughlin from Edgar Beaver. The way that they're taking care of their clients hasn't changed either. But in some cases, the changes are the changes that we do want to see. I really like how Michelle Martin tonight was talking about those things that people can't see from the outside, whether or not your insurance covers things that could apply to your neighborhood, but is generalized due to postal code. I love how Christina was helping more people understand that maybe not all the property in front of your house is yours. There's other things to facilitate. And I really appreciate you guys as a real estate team, because it's very difficult in these circumstances where people need you all the time. They need you right now. And to be the person that is going to get drafted into these people's families is a big deal, because we know bedtimes. We know when people are on shift and off shift. We understand. I end up on speakerphone with some people and they're like, well, you know, we're just in bed right now. And it's like, well, this got awkward. But it's an interesting job that way. What do you want more buyers to understand coming into 2021 as we close our session here? Is there anything that you wish that you could gift them as a little bit of knowledge so that we could make sure that everybody has a better chance out there?
Yeah, I mean, specifically with the buying side, I would say, you know, find the right fit for you. Get an expert on your side that's going to be there every step of the way, so that when stuff goes south, you've got us there. Because we're dealing with some stuff this week that can get fun, and we can't imagine our clients standing without us, and they definitely can't imagine what it would be like without us either. And so get an expert and make sure that you're protected all the way around.
I like it. I also would like to add saying that when you're taking a look at that next house, it might feel like it's such a big project that this is going to be your forever home, but probably not. In fact, if you gave us the job, like go and find my forever home, well, we're going to say, okay, well, you're probably eventually not going to want stairs. So we're only looking at bungalows. But will that fit your family that's got 3 kids right now? I got to tell you, 2 stories are like the machine. It's almost like the minivan of houses. Whereas later in life, you're going to want something different. So I would say take it 5 years at a time. And if you hit the next 5 years out of the park, it's probably going to serve you longer than that. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you, all the people that brought prizes. We really appreciate that. And thank you for everybody who tuned in for buying real estate in 2021. We want to help you avoid paying too much. We want to help you avoid missing the one. And we want to help you if you've got a house to sell. So if you have a house to sell, I want you to keep your eye out because we're going to be making another announcement about our seller event that's going to be coming in March. So if you want to know a little bit about how to get your property ready for sale, how to make sure that you can increase those resale numbers, how you can make sure that you bring your property to the market in a way that respects this current market. Because the average person is working with information from 4 months ago. And I think that if you were thinking about selling your house 4 months ago and you were thinking about selling your house today, there'd be a pretty big difference in income, in outcome. Our market is shifting. And I think we're about to have one of the best seller experiences since 2014. And 2014 was when oil was like $140 a barrel. So right now you're looking at a team that has readiness, a team that is ready to enter the market and make sure that you get a 5-star experience. So thank you, everybody, and have a great night. You can easily contact us. You can contact all of our trusted experts. We're here to make sure that you avoid those 3-star experiences and have an outcome that you can comment to your friends as being remarkable. Hope you guys are doing awesome. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.